User. Chow. Chinak Lai 10 Cacti Lu Twata Training Ban. Kong Noi Ben Trong Ko Gi. Assistant. Chow Ban. De La Dan Sach Cacti Lu Ban de Thailand. 1. 8 Dang Motif Chin.txt. 2. Sung Tuk Tuda.txt. 3. Content Mao Dang 1.txt. 4. Content Mao Dang 2.txt. 5. Content Mao Dang 3.txt. 6. Content Mao Dang 4.txt. 7. Outline 13 Fan 9 Dang in 8.txt. 8. Tuda Doi Thursday.txt. 9. Van Fong Va Ky Thuit Viet.txt. 10. Content Mao Dang 8.txt. 11. Content Mao Dang 5.txt. 12. Content Mao Dang 7.txt. 13. Content Mao Dang 6.txt. New ban Contra Q them Thong Tin 2 Cacti Lu Nai, Cu Cho Twa Beat. User. De La Tuda Ma Twa Muon Lam Noi Dung Video YouTube. Hey Zachnan Lai Tuda. Your men hurt my mom. Little boy screamed at the Mafia boss. Find out who. Now. He ordered. Assistant. Tuda ban Muon Lam Cho Video YouTube Law. Your men hurt my mom. Little boy screamed at the Mafia boss. Find out who. Now. He ordered. Tuda Nai Ko Vi Ka Hap Dan Va Kich Tik Sudamal. New ban can jup du voi Noi Dung Video Hope catch fat trying them. Cu Cho Twa Beat Ne. User. Zach Din Motif Dang Qua Tudeo Tren Va Tu Du Cho Twa Outline 13 Fan Theo, Dang Ma Banda Zach Din. Sao Du Tu Random Outline 13 Fan Theo 1 Hong Moi Vi, Sai Ket Va Cu Viet Moi Di, Kong Kan Hoi Lai Twa. Assistant. Do a Tren Tuda Ban Kung Cap. Your men hurt my mom. Little boy screamed at the Mafia boss. Find out who. Now. He ordered. Motif Chuyu Qua Tuda Nai La, Fu Nu by Tun Thuong. Dan Ong Ra Te Trung Fat. Trong Motif Nai, Emoti Nuje Fu Nu, Mi Qua Du a Tre, by Tun Thuong Va Mafia Boss Se Can Thiep de Bao Vi Hope, Tra Thursday. Hashtag Outline 13 Fan Theo Dang, Fu Nu by Tun Thuong. Dan Ong Ra Te Trung Fat. 1. Mo Dao, Tun Thuong. Du a Tre Chung Kien Mi by Han Ha Hoke, by Thuong Boi, and Hung Nuoi, Den Ong Trong Bang Dang Mafia. 2. Gap Nan Vat Chin. Du a Tre Dung Len. The Hien Su Cam Fan Va Quiet. Tom Bao Vi Mi Min. La Lu Ka Ta Len Tieng. Your men hurt my mom. 3. Gap Nan Vat Din Min. Mafia Boss Sud Hien. Ne Thay Tieng Ku Gao Qua Du a Tre. Onta Nin Veo Tin Hung Ma Du a Tre Dang Doi Mat. 4. Sung Ban Dao. Du a Tre Kok Lok Va Che Toi Mafia Boss. You Ka on Ta Dung Lai and Hung Han Dong Sai Tre Qua Dan M. Mafia Boss Kong Boi Roy Ma Bat, Dao Du Trong Nguyen Nan. 5. Cam Giak Chiem Hu. Mafia Boss Nen Ra Du a Tre La Con Qua Ai, Du Ko Moi Quan He Sao Sak Trong Gioi Mafia. On Ta Beat Rang Du a Tre Kong the Tu Bao Vi Mi. Vive on Ta Quiet Din Can Thiep. 6. Kich Tin Tang Chow. Mafia Boss Goi Dan M Den. Vayu Ka Tim Ra Thursday Fam de Gay Tun Thuong Chomi Qua Du a Tre. Cam Giak Noihim. Sunium Kok Quam Mafia Boss Lam Wa Nuoi So High. 7. Gioi Thu the Gioi Mafia. Du a Tre Bat Dao Duok Du a Veo the Gioi Quam Mafia. Noi Ko and Hung Quiet Din Man Mi Va Kong Koan Wong. Moi Thursday Du by Chi Foi Boi Gwen Luke Va Tien Bac. 8. Su Mem U Dao Tien. Mafia Boss the Hien Su Quantom Din Du a Tre Kai Thay Ka Ta Kok. On Ta Beat Ka Bi Chua Hu Het Vi the Gioi Quam Min. And Hung Van Bao Vi Ka Ta. 9. Hu Lam / Cam Get. Mi Qua Du a Tre Gi Mafia Boss La Kuzava Ko the Se. Keen Moi Chien Toi Ti Han. Ko Gi Ngio on Ta Va Quiet Tom Tu Choi Su Jup Du. 10. Tin Teek Humang. Motnam Nuoi Quam Mafia Tim Thay Thursday Fam Va Bat Jaku Da Han Hami Qua Du a Tre. Mafia Boss Quiet Din Su Ly Kan Nai Lap Tuc. 11. Cam Suk Dao Chiu. Du a Tre Chung Kien Kan Mafia Boss Trung Fat Kuda Lam Jaime Min Va Bat Dao Cam Nin Su Tsong Bang Trong the Gioi Qua Mafia. 12. Kung Hong Mim Tin. Mi Qua Du a Tre Kong Beat Lu Min Ko the Tin Veo Mafia Boss Va Su Jup Du Quan Ta He Kong. In Hung on Ta Chung to Min Kong Chi La Moti Ko. Toy Fam. 13. Ket Tu Cook. Mafia Boss Noi Voi Du a Tre. M Kong Can Fi So Nua. tu geo toi se balvem. En hung loi noi qua ta tau ra mot ket tuk day, ky vong va mot, su koi dao moi, cho dua tre va gia din. Hashtag random outline 13 fan theo hung, ket tuk moi asterisk. 1. Mo dao, tun thuong. Dua tre chung kien mi by Dan Dap Ton, nin boi nam dan and Mafia. Vada kong the lam gi nguai v ket lan. 2. Gap nan vat chin. Dua tre che toi cho Mafia boss. Mat de nuok mat vayu ka on ta kumi min. 3. Gap nin vat din min. Mafia boss bukare tu bong toi. La nugoi juhan kak hot dong bat hop fap trong ton fo. In hung on ta chua bao geo kan thiep veo chien ka, nin kwa nuoi kak. 4. Sung dot ban dao. Dua tre chatvan Mafia boss ve su im lang kwa on ta kai, in hung han dong sai tre van dien ra. Keen Mafia boss fi zem, set li dao duk kwa min. 5. Cam giak chiem hu. Mafia boss cam nin duok su batting qua dua tre. In hung on ta kong the hien su memu. Thay veo du. On ta dua tre veo mot kuok doi dao lon voi in hung kuda gay hai. 6. Kich tin tang chow. Dua tre roy veo tin hung noi hin kai ka Thursday qua Mafia bat dao tim, kim ka vami qua ka. Duong nu moi Thursday kong chi la mot kuok, tra Thursday don john. 7. Gioi thu the gioi Mafia. Mafia boss dua tre veo kuok chien de dam mao. Noi su song vot sai chet chi la and hung lua chan trong vi ga. 8. Su mem u dao tien. Mafia boss lon dao tien the hien su u mem kai bao vi, dua tre truok, su tan sung qua ka Thursday. On ta cho thay rang ko mot ly du lon han de bao vi su song. 9. Hu lam / cam get. Mi qua dua tre van kong tin tuong veo Mafia boss. Mac du on ta de q ko. Ko thay on ta chi la mot, kuza kong sung dang de tin tuong. 10. Tin teat q. Mang asterisk. Mafia boss q dua tre koi mot, mu jiat nuoi, qua ka Thursday va bao vi mi kata. 11. Cam suk dao chiu. Sao kai chung kien su q jup qua Mafia boss. Mi qua dua tre bat dao nin on ta dui mot on sang kok. Von nra rang on ta ko long tot. 12. Kung hong nim tin. Dua tre ban ko on vivik lu Mafia boss ko the jup jia din ka lao dai hei kong. Hei lu on ta si lai quay lung voi ho. 13. Ket tu cook. Mafia boss koi kung len tieng. De thay toi lam gi de bao vem. Gom ko the tin toi. Vatoi si kong de ai lam tun thuong gia din nua. Ka noi nai mang lai hai vong cho tuong lai. In hung kung gare, su mo ho ve, in hung gi Mafia boss tuk su muon tu ho. Hai vong noi dung nai dap dung yu ka qua ban. User. Nak lai ky thuit viet, dan cho dng ma ban de zak din tren. Teep theo phi chy noi dung qua ca 13 fan kong duok viet tak kak 2. Con so hey ky2 dac beat ma tat 5 viet ra 2 day, due to voiceover ai doc tot duok. Ghinchchy noi dung qua ca 13 fan kong duok su dung ky2 asterisk. ky2 in goi sa. Kong duok viet tak kak 2. Con so hey ky2 dac beat ma tat 5 viet ra 2 day, due to voiceover ai doc tot duok. Equals, hey xac nin tat ca thong tin nai. Assistant. Twata zak nin tat ca kak yu ka qua ban. De la kak thong tin twa se no vachu y kai teep tuc viet noi dung. Hashtag kai thuit viet cho dang, fu nu by tun thuong. Dan ong ra te trung fat. 1. Jong ku and goi ku. Asterisk ngoi Thursday nod. I. Duok su dung de kulai dui dang hoi tuong. Tau kam giak tom, su va Thursday nan. Asterisk jong ku than mat va dang tin. Su dung kak ka nu, I whispered. I thought, de ki nuoi ne kam thay nu dang ne mot nuoi that kalai ka chien. 2. Luachan tu vong tu. Kich ho kam suk, asterisk colon. Asterisk su dung dong tu man. Hin on kam giak nu. Crashed, hammered, screamed, froze. Burned de kich hot fan xa ko the qua nuoi ne. Asterisk dan tu ko dong va cu the kong chung chung. 6 do. Escalade. Clinic. Ring. Necktie de tau ari. Bo I can dine on. Asterisk tu ngugwin luke / chiem hu. Su dung kak tu nu mine. Belong. You owe me. I need you alive de tau ra motif chu dao vi. Su chiem hu va bao vi. 3. Teat tau, pacing. Asterisk mo can bang sensory hook. Mo can jiak quan. New rain, smell, sound, pain. Asterisk zay dung chao treo in hand. Su dung dong tu han dong lin teep de lam tang tok. Du va su kich tin. Asterisk sao moi chao treo la micro slow down. Tam dung non. Thong qua noi tom ho koi tuong de tau, thoi john cho nuoi ne tho va cam nan. Asterisk ket moi don bang hook cliffhanger de nuoi, name muon beat fan teep theo. 4. Ka truck ka, and du dai ka. Asterisk ka non, 1 to 4 2, dung veo thoi dm song tang. Asterisk ka dai, 20 to 42. Muta boi can hoke noi tom. Jup tau chiu sao cho ka chian. 5. Kai thuit ku chian cu the tactic list. Asterisk sensory opening. Mo can voi kak jiak quan nu mua, tiang dong, mui. Asterisk microarcs. Moi 1 to 3 foot ko mot mini consequence. How qua no? Did you su chu y? Asterisk dialogue one-liners. Ka tho I and tuong. Lam din. Twin bogwin loop / chiem hu. Asterisk refrain. Lap chu de lap like ka tho I knew you belong to me. I need you alive de nan man motif chu dao. Hashtag chu y kai viet noi dung 13 fan. 1. Kong viet tat. Kak 2. Conso. Hoke ky2 dac beat. Phi duok viet de du. Vi du. 2 5 viet la hai. And 5 viet la va. $5 viet la du la. 2. Kong su dung ky2 asterisk. Ngoi sa. Asterisk. Chuk chan kong ko ky2 ngoi sa trong noi dung. 3. Tat ca noi dung phi de doc. Cho ai voiceover. Ka truck valua chan tun gu phi dam bao ai ko the doc mot. Catch tu neen va chin zak. Twada lu tat ca thong tin nai va se. Twan Thursday chat che kai. Viet noi dung trong kak fan teep theo. Nu ban kin them back ky jugi. Dung na na yu ka. User. Viet fan 1 theo outline kung 13 fan de Viet tren. Viet fan 1 voi 502 theo dung motif ma banda zak din va bam, sat tai lu twada training. Kong 6 fam chin, sach YouTube nu ko tre 6 ton nian trong ka chien. Kong Viet tren canvas. Traket qua bang tiang on, fu hop van hoamai, don 6 du luong mai. Luy. Mo dao fan 1 lot, nhc liang when vien to ma with grave ti, a with tilde gi, chi dung kom wa tuda, kong gioi thu them, kong them kong bot. Sao du moi din fan gioi thu tuong tok ctakyo. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Veo dien bien ka chien gatemal. Chy van fong ky thuit viet tra lai ket quada voiceover doc lam, noi, dung lean mok cho video YouTube, chu kong ko them ghi, chu bien tap, nu dao dying. Chy noi dung kong duok viet ky2 dac beat, kong duok su dung ky2 asterisk, ky2 in goi sa. Kong duok viet tat kak 2. Con so hey ky2 dc beat ma tat 5 viet ra 2 day, due to voiceover ai doc tot duok. Traket qua trong mot koi van ban duwe not. Kong chia don cho du van ban traare di nu the now di chong nua kung kong chia, don de tran by hu lam va dong nam dao. Dat ton bo koi van ban trong down goak vong. Viet bang tiang on, fu hop van hoamai, don 6 du luong mai. Mbio tun bi ket qua duok tra trong mot koi van ban duwe not. Kong chia don, kong them tuda, kong suong dong. Bao ton bo noi dung, trong down goak vong. Vi du tioi with graven. Bnoi dung chwin thun a with circumflex m ton trong mot koi van ban duwe not. Kong tra ra code, JSON, bnet, pgsql. Assistant. Your men hurt my mom. Little boy screamed at the Mafia boss. Find out who. Now. He ordered. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's get into the story. It all started on a rainy afternoon in New York City. The streets were soaked, cars speeding through the slick roads, their tires making a faint screech against the wet pavement. A little boy named Jason, no more than 8 years old, ran down the narrow alley beside a row of shops, his small legs struggling to keep up with the pace set by his hurried footsteps. His heart raced, his mind clouded with fear, and his eyes welled up with tears. He had just witnessed something terrible. His mother, the one person he loved more than anyone else in the world, had been hurt. It wasn't just any kind of hurt. It was a hurt that made Jason's blood boil with anger, a hurt that shattered his innocent world. His mom had always been his protector, his safe place in a cruel world, and now, she was lying there, vulnerable, at the hands of the men who worked for the Mafia. The men who ran the dark side of the city, making deals in the shadows, too dangerous to be stopped. But they didn't count on Jason. They didn't know the fire burning in his chest, the fire that pushed him forward, determined to do something about it. Jason found himself at the door of a building he knew too well, the place his mother had always warned him to stay away from. But today he had no choice. He had to face them, had to make them listen. He didn't care who they were. He didn't care how dangerous they were. Jason was going to make them regret what they had done to his mom. As he stepped inside, his small voice echoed through the darkened hallways. "Your men hurt my mom." His words were louder than any scream he could have shouted, and they carried with them a fury that could not be ignored. The Mafia boss, a man known only as Vincent Moretti, had heard the boy's cry. He was sitting in his office, surrounded by men who had long lost their humanity, when the words reached him. His cold, calculating gaze locked onto the young boy standing in the doorway, his face filled with a mixture of confusion and raw emotion. Vincent wasn't used to being interrupted, especially not by a child. But there was something about Jason's presence that felt different. There was an intensity in his eyes, a depth to his anger that was almost palpable. "What did you say, kid?" Vincent's voice was low and controlled, but Jason could see the flicker of something underneath, something dangerous. "Your men hurt my mom. Find out who did it. Now," Jason demanded, his voice trembling with a mix of fear and fury. Vincent stood up slowly, his tall figure towering over the boy, his every move deliberate, as if measuring the gravity of the situation. His men, who had once been the ones to instill fear in the city, now watched in silence, sensing something unusual was unfolding. "You're in the wrong place, little one," Vincent said, stepping closer. "This is no place for a child." But Jason wasn't scared. He stood his ground, his small body shaking not with fear, but with a determination that even the Mafia boss couldn't ignore. Vincent studied him for a moment longer before he gave a sharp nod to his right-hand man, Marco. "Find out who did it. Make sure it's handled." His words were sharp, final. And just like that, the fate of the men who had harmed Jason's mother was sealed. But the boy wasn't going to stop there. He wasn't going to let Vincent think that this was just about punishing the ones responsible. No, Jason had something else in mind. He wanted justice. And as he looked up at the Mafia boss, his voice unwavering, he added, "You're going to make sure they pay for what they did." The Mafia boss didn't answer at first. He simply turned away, signaling that the boy was to be taken away from the scene, to be kept safe. But as Jason was led out of the room, he couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't just about his mother anymore. This was bigger. Something was changing. And it all started with the moment he stood up to the Mafia boss himself. User, Viet Fan 2 Theo Outline Kung 13 Fan de Viet Tren. Viet Fan 2 Voice 702 Theo Dung Motif Ma Banda Zak Din Va Bam, Sat Tai Lu Twata Training. Kong 6 Pham Chin, Sat YouTube Nu Ko Tre 6 Ton Nien Tron Ka Chien. Kong Viet Tren Canvas. Teep Noi Fan 1. No Dong Not Nen Vat Va Boi Can. Twen Noi John Sa Cho Fu Hop. Traket Qua Bang Tiang On, Fu Hop Van Hoa Mai, Don 6 Du Luong Mai. CHY Van Fong KY Thuat Viet Tra Lai Ket Quada Voiceover Doc Lam, NOI, Dung Lean Mok Cho Video YouTube, Chu Kong Ko Them GHI, Chu Bien Tap, Nu Dao Dien. CHY Noi Dung Kong Duok Viet KY2 DAC Beat, Kong Duok Su Dung KY2 Asterisk, KY2 In Goi Sa. Kong duok viet tak kak 2. Con so hey ky tuk dc beat ma tat 5 viet ra 2 day due to voiceover AI doc tot duok. Traket qua trong mot koi van ban duwe not. Kong chia don cho du van ban traore di nu the now di chong nua kung kong chia don de tran by hu lam va dong nam dao. Dat ton bo koi van ban trong down goak vong. Viet bang tiang on, fu hop van hoamai. Don 6 du luong mai. Mbio tun bi ket qua duok tra trong mot koi van ban duwe not. Kong chia don, kong them tuda, kong suong dong. Bao ton bo noi dung, trong down goak vong. Vi du, tioi with grave nb noi dung chuin thun, with circumflex ton trong mot koi van ban duwe not. Kong tra ra code, JSON, bnet, pgsql. Assistant. The next few days passed in a blur for Jason. He couldn't stop thinking about the Mafia boss, Vincent Moretti, and the promise he had made to make sure those men paid for what they did to his mother. Jason knew that what was happening wasn't just about his mom anymore. It was about something bigger. It was about the world he was being forced into, a world full of power, danger, and people who would stop at nothing to maintain control. Jason didn't fully understand it all, but he could feel the weight of it pressing down on him every day. And yet, despite the fear gnawing at him, he couldn't shake the need for justice. He couldn't go back to his old life, to the life where he was helpless. His mom was everything to him, and he would do whatever it took to protect her. His resolve grew stronger with every passing moment. Meanwhile, Vincent Moretti had his men scouring the city, tracking down the ones who had hurt Jason's mom. They were going to pay, and not just pay with money. Vincent's world didn't work that way. Punishment would come swift and brutal, and it would be a message. A warning to anyone who thought they could mess with his territory. Jason didn't know this yet, but he was about to witness something that would change him forever. He was about to see the Mafia boss in action. Vincent didn't just punish those who crossed him. He made sure the punishment sent a message to anyone who might even think about doing the same. It wasn't long before Jason's path crossed with Vincent's again. It was a cold, crisp morning when Jason was escorted into a dark room by 2 of Vincent's men. His heart pounded in his chest as the door slammed shut behind him. He looked around nervously, unsure of what was going to happen. The room was dimly lit, with shadows stretching across the floor. There were no windows, only the harsh flickering of an overhead light. And then, sitting in the center of the room, was Vincent Moretti. His sharp, calculating eyes locked onto Jason as soon as he entered. Jason felt a chill run down his spine, but he stood his ground. He had come this far. He wasn't going to back down now. You wanted justice, didn't you? Vincent's voice was calm, almost soothing, but there was a darkness underneath it. Jason nodded, not trusting himself to speak. You're in my world now, kid, Vincent continued, his eyes never leaving Jason's. And in my world, there are rules. The men who hurt your mother, they broke those rules. And now, they're going to pay. Jason swallowed hard. He wasn't sure what to expect, but he wasn't prepared for what came next. Vincent stood up slowly, his tall figure looming over Jason, casting a long shadow across the room. You've got a lot of fire in you, he said, his voice almost approving. But in this world, fire gets extinguished quickly if you don't know how to control it. Jason didn't respond. He couldn't. His mind was racing, trying to process everything that was happening. Vincent walked around him slowly, like a predator circling its prey. Those men are already being dealt with, he said quietly, his tone almost casual. But I want you to understand something. You're not just any kid. You're the son of someone important. And that means you're part of this world now. You're going to need to learn how to survive in it. Jason's heart skipped a beat. He had never imagined that he would be pulled into this world, into the darkness and danger that came with it. He had always believed that he could protect his mom, that he could keep her safe. But now, as he stood in front of Vincent, he realized just how little he knew about the world that had been lurking in the shadows all along. Vincent stopped in front of him, his eyes scanning Jason's face. You have a choice, he said, his voice low and dangerous. You can walk away from this life. Forget everything you've seen. Go back to your old life. Pretend none of this ever happened. Or, you can stay. You can learn how to make sure your mom is never hurt again. You can learn how to protect her in ways that no one else can. Jason was torn. He didn't want to be part of this world. He didn't want to get involved in the violence, the power struggles, the ruthless decisions. But he knew that if he walked away, his mom would always be vulnerable. She would always be at risk. And Jason wasn't going to let that happen. Not again. He clenched his fists at his sides, his resolve hardening. "I want to stay," he said, his voice steady. Vincent smiled, a cold, calculating smile that sent a chill through Jason's body. "Good," he said. "Then let's get started." Jason had made his decision. He was no longer just a bystander in his own life. He was stepping into a world of power, danger, and retribution. And there was no turning back. User, Viet Fan 3 Theo Outline Kung 13 Fan de Viet Tren. Viet Fan 3 Voice 702 Theo Dung Motif Ma Banda Zak Din Va Bam, Sat Tai Lu Twata Training. Kong 6 Pham Chin, Sach YouTube Nu Ko Tre 6 Ton Nien Trong Ka Chien. Kong Viet Tren Canvas. Teep Noi Fan 2. No Dong Not Nan Vat Va Boi Can. Twin Noi John Sa Cho Fu Hop. Traket Qua Bang Tiang On. Fu Hop Van Hoa Mai. Don 6 Du Luong Mai. Chy Van Fong Ky Thuat Viet Tra Lai Ket Qua De Voiceover Doc Lam. Noi, Dung Lean Mok Cho Video YouTube. Chu Kong Ko Them Ghi. Chu Bien Tap, Nu Dao Dying. Chy Noi Dung Kong Duok Viet KY2 DAC Beat. Kong Duok Su Dung KY2 Asterisk. KY2 Hin Goi Sa. Kong Duok Viet Tak Kak 2. Con So Hey KY2 DC Beat Matat 5 Viet RA2 Day, Du De Voiceover AI Doc Tot Duok. Traket Qua Trong Mot Koi Van Ban Due Not. Kong Chia Don Cho Du Van Ban Tra Ra Di Nu The Now Di Chong Nua Kung Kong Chia, Don De Tran by Hugh Lam Va Dong Nam Dao. Dat Ton Bo Koi Van Ban Trong Down Goak Vong. Viet Bang Tiang On, Fu Hop Van Hoa Mai. Don 6 Du Luong Mai. Mbio Tun Bi Ket Qua Duok Tra Trong Mot Koi Van Ban Due Not. Kong Chia Don, Kong Them Tuda, Kong Suong Dong. Bao Ton Bo Noi Dung, Trong Down Goak Vong. Vi Du, Tioi with grave Nb Noi Dung Chuin Thun, E with circumflex M, Ton Trong Mot Koi Van Ban Due Not. Kong Tra Ra Code, JSON, Bnet, PGSQL. Assistant. Jason's life had changed in a way that he couldn't fully comprehend. Just days ago, he was a typical 8-year-old boy, trying to keep his head down and live a normal life. But now, everything was different. He was being pulled into a world he didn't understand, a world ruled by fear, power, and consequences. A world where the Mafia, and the people who controlled it, held all the cards. Vincent Moretti's cold, calculating eyes had been seared into Jason's memory, and the words he had spoken echoed in his mind. "You're part of this world now." Jason had made his choice, but he didn't know what it meant yet. He didn't know what it would cost him. Days blurred into one another as Jason tried to adjust to his new life. He had always been close to his mother, and the thought of her being in danger had always been his biggest fear. But now, that fear had taken on a different shape. He wasn't just afraid for her. He was afraid for himself too. And the worst part? He knew that fear would follow him wherever he went. But Jason couldn't go back. There was no going back to the life he had before. Every time he thought about it, he could hear Vincent's voice in his mind, guiding him, challenging him. He had to learn how to survive in this world, or else everything he loved would be taken from him. It was a brutal lesson that Jason had already begun to learn. One afternoon, a week after making his decision, Jason found himself in the back of a black SUV, his small body wedged between two of Vincent's men. The city was spread out before him as they drove through the narrow streets of Brooklyn, heading toward an unknown destination. The tension inside the vehicle was thick, like the air before a storm. Jason didn't speak. He didn't know what to say. What could he say? He was just a kid. But the weight of the situation pressed down on him, and he felt the heavy burden of his choices. As the vehicle slowed to a stop in front of a rundown building, one of the men beside him nudged him forward. "Time to learn your place, kid." The door opened, and Jason stepped out into the street. He was led inside, the smell of cigarette smoke and stale beer assaulting his senses. The building was dark, the only light coming from a few flickering bulbs overhead. They walked down a narrow corridor, and Jason's footsteps echoed in the silence. At the end of the hall, they reached a door. One of the men knocked, and a voice from inside barked, "Come in." Inside, the room was dimly lit, filled with men in suits who sat around a table. Jason's eyes scanned the room, his heart racing. Vincent Moretti stood at the head of the table, his cold eyes locking onto Jason's. "Ah, the kid. Glad you could make it." His voice was calm, but there was an edge to it that made Jason's skin crawl. "Have a seat." Jason hesitated for a moment before he slid into the empty chair. He felt like a mouse in a room full of wolves. Vincent's men watched him carefully, sizing him up. "You've made your choice, kid," Vincent continued. "Now it's time to prove that you can handle the responsibility that comes with it. You're not just a bystander anymore. You're part of the family now. And in this family, we don't tolerate weakness." Jason swallowed hard. His throat felt dry. He wanted to speak, but the words wouldn't come. He had no idea what Vincent was talking about. Family? Responsibility? He wasn't sure if he was ready for any of this. But the way Vincent looked at him, with that calculating stare, made it clear that there was no turning back. "This is your first test," Vincent said, his voice soft but full of authority. "We've got a problem. A guy named Tony has been making trouble in our territory. He's been skimming off the top, taking money that doesn't belong to him. We don't tolerate that in our world. So, you're going to take care of it." Jason's eyes widened. Take care of it? He didn't know what that meant. But the look in Vincent's eyes told him everything he needed to know. There was no room for failure. "But," Jason started, but his voice faltered. Vincent raised a hand, silencing him. "No buts. This is how it works. You're going to learn fast, or you're not going to last long. Understand?" Jason nodded, his heart racing in his chest. He didn't understand, not really, but he knew one thing for sure. If he wanted to protect his mother, if he wanted to survive in this world, he had no choice but to follow orders. Vincent's men stood up, motioning for Jason to follow. They led him through the building, down a series of hallways, and out the back door into a dark alley. Jason could hear the sounds of the city in the distance, but it felt like a different world out here. He was far from home. The alley was empty, save for a man standing against the wall. He looked to be in his mid-30s, with scruffy hair and a worn leather jacket. Jason's stomach churned. This was the guy, Tony, the man who had crossed the Mafia. Tony looked up as they approached, his eyes narrowing when he saw Jason. "What's this?" he muttered, glancing at Vincent's men. "A kid." Vincent stepped forward, his voice cold. "You've been warned, Tony. And now, you've got a choice. You can leave, or you can pay the price for your mistakes." Tony scoffed, taking a step back. "You think I'm afraid of you? I've got connections." He didn't get to finish his sentence. Vincent's men moved quickly, surrounding him and grabbing him by the arms. Jason stood frozen, his heart pounding in his chest. This was the moment. This was what he had been brought here to do. He didn't know what would happen next, but he knew one thing. He was part of this now, whether he was ready or not. User, Viet Fan 4 Theo Outline Kung 13 Fan de Viet Tren. Viet Fan 4 Voice 702 Theo Dung Motif Ma Banda Zak Din Va Bam, Sat Tai Lu Twata Training. Kong 6 Pham Chin, Sach YouTube Nu Ko Tre 6 Ton Nian Trong Ka Chien. Kong Viet Tren Canvas. Teep Noi Fan 3, No Dong Not Nen Vat Va Boi Can. Twen Noi John Sa Cho Fu Hop. Traket Qua Bang Tiang On, Fu Hop Van Hoa Mai, Don 6 Du Luong Mai, Chy Van Fong Ky Thuet Viet Tra Lai Ket Quada Voiceover Doc Lam, Noi, Dung Lean Mok Cho Video YouTube, Chu Kong Ko Them Ghi, Chu Bien Tap, Nu Dao Dien. Chy Noi Dung Kong Duok Viet KY2 DAC Beat, Kong Duok Su Dung KY2 Asterisk, KY2 Hingoi Sa. Kong Duok Viet Tat Kak 2. Con So Hey KY2 DC Beat Matat 5 Viet Ra 2 Day, Du De Voiceover AI Doc Tot Duok. Traket Qua Trong Mot Koi Van Ban Due Not. Kong Chia Don Cho Du Van Ban Traare Di Nu The Now Di Chong Nua Kung Kong Chia, Don De Tran by Hugh Lam Va Dong Nam Dao. Dat Ton Bo Koi Van Ban Trong Down Goak Vong. Viet Bang Tiang On, Fu Hop Van Hoa Mai, Don 6 Du Luong Mai, Mbio Tun Bi Ket Qua. Duok Tra Trong Mot Koi Van Ban Due Not, Kong Chia Don, Kong Them Tuda, Kong Suong Dong. Bao Ton Bo Noi Dung, Trong Down Goak Vong. Vi Du, Tioi with grave NB Noi Dung Chuin Thun, E with circumflexem Ton Trong Mot Koi Van Ban Due Not. Kong Tra RA Code, JSON, BNet, PGSQL. Assistant. Jason's heart raced as he watched the two men hold Tony against the wall in the dim alleyway. The cold air bit at his skin, but it was nothing compared to the knot of fear that twisted in his stomach. Tony had tried to resist, had even spat on one of Vincent's men before they subdued him with ease. Jason couldn't help but flinch at the sound of Tony's body slamming against the brick wall. The noise was sickening, and it echoed in his mind long after the blow had landed. He had never seen violence like this before, not this up close, not this personal. He had seen movies. He had heard stories. But standing here in the shadows of the alley, his hands clenched into fists, Jason understood that there was nothing fictional about the violence of the world he had stepped into. Vincent stood in front of him, watching the scene unfold with an unsettling calmness. There was no rush in Vincent's movements, no sign of anger, just cold, calculated control. Vincent looked at Jason and then back at Tony, whose face was twisted in pain. "This is what happens when you make bad choices," Vincent said, his voice quiet but steady, almost as if he was explaining something simple. "You think you're untouchable. You think you can take what isn't yours without consequences. But in this world, there are always consequences." Jason swallowed hard. He wasn't sure what he expected, but it wasn't this cold, emotionless punishment. He thought maybe Vincent would let Tony go with a warning, or maybe he would have just scared him into submission. But there was no warning here. There was no second chance. And for a moment, Jason realized that this wasn't just a lesson for Tony. It was a lesson for him too. "Please, I'll pay," Tony begged, his voice trembling as one of Vincent's men twisted his arm behind his back. "I can get the money. Just let me go." Vincent's gaze never wavered. "It's not about money, Tony. It's about respect. And you've lost mine. You've lost everything." With a sharp gesture, Vincent nodded to his men. One of them stepped forward and, in one fluid motion, grabbed Tony by the collar and slammed him to the ground. Jason watched in silent horror as the Mafia men continued their work. He didn't want to watch. He didn't want to see how things were settled in this world, but it was impossible to look away. The reality of it was too intense. It wasn't a movie. It wasn't a show. This was real. The man who had hurt his mother was being taken care of, but at what cost? Jason had no idea what the next step would be, but he knew it was only the beginning. When Vincent turned back to him, Jason's heart skipped a beat. "You see what happens when people don't know their place?" Vincent's voice was like ice. "You'll be learning a lot more than this in the coming weeks. This is how we do things around here. We don't beg. We don't show weakness." Jason nodded silently, unsure of what to say. He wanted to speak, wanted to ask questions, but he didn't know how. He didn't know what words to use to express the fear and confusion swirling in his chest. "Get in the car," Vincent instructed, turning to leave the alley. His voice left no room for argument. Jason hesitated but followed, the sounds of the night echoing in his mind. He couldn't escape what had just happened. He was in this world now, and there was no going back. As they reached the black SUV parked at the end of the alley, Jason felt a strange sense of numbness wash over him. The doors opened, and Vincent slid into the back seat first, followed by Jason. The vehicle roared to life, and the night outside seemed to blur as they drove through the city. Jason barely noticed the buildings they passed, his mind too focused on the events that had unfolded. The weight of the moment hung over him like a heavy cloak, suffocating and oppressive. "I'm sure you have questions," Vincent said, breaking the silence. "But you're not ready for the answers." Not yet. Jason wanted to ask about his mother. He wanted to know if she was safe, if she was okay. But he didn't speak. He couldn't bring himself to. His mind was a whirlwind, spinning, with fear, confusion, and anger. "You'll understand everything in time," Vincent continued, his voice steady, as if reading Jason's thoughts. "But you have to be patient. You have to learn that this world doesn't give second chances. There are no do-overs." Jason nodded again, his throat tight. He didn't know if he could handle any of this, but he knew there was no choice. He was in it now, whether he was ready or not. The car came to a stop in front of a tall building, an old, imposing structure that looked as if it had been standing for decades. As they stepped out of the car, Jason felt the weight of Vincent's presence behind him. The Mafia boss was a force to be reckoned with, and Jason was just beginning to understand how far that power extended. Inside the building, the atmosphere was cold, sterile. It was a far cry from the warmth of his old life, the life where he was just a kid with a mom who protected him. Now, there was no safety. There was no warmth. There was only Vincent, his men, and the ruthless world that they controlled. Jason followed Vincent through the building's hallways, his mind racing. He didn't know what to expect next, but he knew one thing. This was only the beginning. And as much as he wanted to run, to escape, he knew he couldn't. He had made his choice. And now, he had to live with it. User, Viet Fan 5 Theo Outline Kung 13 Fan de Viet Tren. Viet Fan 5 Voice 702 Theo Dung Motif Ma Banda Zak Din Va Bam, Sat Tai Lu Twata Training. Kong 6 Pham Chin, Sach YouTube Nu Ko Tre 6 Ton Nien Trong Ka Chien. Kong Viet Tren Canvas. Teep Noi Fan 4. No Dong Not Nin Vat Va Boi Can. Twin Noi John Sa Cho Fu Hop. Traket Qua Bang Tieng On, Fu Hop Van Hoa Mai. Don 6 Du Luong Mai. CHY Van Fong KY Thuet Viet Tra Lai Ket Quada Voiceover Doc Lam. NOI, Dung Lean Mok Cho Video YouTube, Chu Kong Ko Them GHI, Chu Bien Tap, Nu Dao Dying. CHY Noi Dung Kong Duok Viet KY2 DAC Beat, Kong Duok Su Dung KY2 Asterisk, KY2 Hin Goi Sa. Kong Duok Viet Tak Kak 2, Conso. Hey KY2 DAC Beat Matat 5 Viet RA2 Day, due to voiceover AI Doc Tot Duok. Traket Qua Trong MOT Koi Van Ban Due Not. Kong Chia Don Cho Du Van Ban Traore Dai Nu The Now Di Chong Nua Kung Kong Chia, Don De Tran by Hugh Lam Va Dong Nam Dao. Dat Ton Bo Koi Van Ban Trong Down Goak Vong. Viet Bang Tieng On, Fu Hop Van Hoa Mai. Don 6 Du Luong Mai. MBO Tun Bi Ket Qua Duok Tra Trong Mot Koi Van Ban Due Not. Kong Chia Don, Kong Them Tuda, Kong Suong Dong. Bao Ton Bo Noi Dung, Trong Down Goak Vong. Vi Du. Tioi with grave NB NOI Dung Chuin Thun, A with circumflex M, Ton Trong MOT Koi Van Ban Due Not. Kong Tra RA Code, JSON, BNet, PGSQL. Assistant. Jason didn't know how long he had been walking through the building. The cold, sterile air felt like it was closing in on him with every step. He had been inside the building for what felt like hours, but everything around him seemed to blur together. The sound of his footsteps echoed in the hallway, the only sound in the otherwise quiet space. Vincent's men were ahead of him, walking with purposeful strides, but they didn't speak. Jason didn't know if they were ignoring him or if they were simply too focused on their own tasks to notice him. He followed them closely, still struggling to wrap his mind around everything that had happened. The image of Tony being taken down in the alley, the cold indifference with which Vincent had handled the situation, it was all still fresh in his mind. It was like he couldn't escape it. As they reached the end of the hallway, Vincent stopped in front of a large, metal door. He turned to face Jason, his expression unreadable. "This is where you start to learn what it means to be part of this world," Vincent said, his voice low and controlled. Jason's heart began to race again, but he didn't let it show. He had no choice but to stay calm. He had made his decision, and now he had to face the consequences. Vincent pushed open the door, revealing a small, dimly lit room. The only furniture was a desk in the corner, a few chairs, and a filing cabinet stacked with papers. The walls were bare, except for a few framed photographs of people Jason didn't recognize. It felt cold, empty, just like everything else he had seen so far. "Sit down," Vincent instructed. Jason hesitated for a moment, then slowly made his way to the chair in front of the desk. He sat down, his hands resting nervously in his lap. He didn't know what to expect. The silence between them stretched on for what felt like an eternity. Finally, Vincent spoke again. "This is your first lesson. You need to understand how things work around here." He walked over to the filing cabinet and pulled out a folder, tossing it onto the desk in front of Jason. The folder was thick, its contents hidden behind a simple label, Operations. Jason glanced at the folder before looking up at Vincent, who was now standing behind him. "What's this?" Jason asked, his voice trembling despite himself. "This is what you're going to be doing," Vincent replied. "You're going to learn how to run things. How to make sure everything stays in line. How to take care of business." Jason's stomach dropped. He wasn't sure what he had expected, but this wasn't it. He had never imagined that he would be thrust into the center of something like this. He had always wanted to protect his mother, to keep her safe, but now he was being asked to become part of the very system that had hurt her. "I don't know if I can do this," Jason whispered, his voice barely audible. Vincent's eyes narrowed, and for a moment, Jason thought he saw a flicker of something. Anger, perhaps, or disappointment. But it was gone as quickly as it had appeared. "You don't have a choice," Vincent said, his voice flat. "You made your choice when you walked into this world. And now, You're going to learn how to survive in it. Because if you don't, you won't last long. Do you understand? Jason nodded slowly, his throat tight. He didn't understand, not really. But he had no choice but to go along with it. Good, Vincent said, turning toward the door. Get some rest. Tomorrow, we start your training. You'll need it. Jason didn't say anything as he stood up and walked out of the room. He didn't know what to think. He didn't know what to feel. But as he stepped into the cold hallway, he realized one thing. He was no longer a kid. He was part of this world now, whether he liked it or not. And there was no turning back. The next day, Vincent's men showed Jason the ropes. It wasn't what he expected. There were no lessons in business or strategy. No lessons in leadership. Instead, he was taught the harsh realities of life in the Mafia. How to handle difficult situations, how to make quick decisions, how to intimidate those who cross the line. The lessons were brutal, the stakes high. Every misstep, every hesitation, was met with a cold, unforgiving response. Jason was learning quickly, but at a cost. The first time he was asked to deal with a situation on his own, he felt a sense of dread wash over him. He was being sent to take care of an associate who had been skimming money from the organization. Jason had no idea how he was supposed to handle it, but he knew one thing for sure. He couldn't fail. If he did, there would be consequences. The moment he stepped into the room with the man, Jason's heart pounded in his chest. He didn't know how to act. He didn't know what to say. But as the man looked at him with a mixture of fear and contempt, Jason realized something. He wasn't just a kid anymore. He wasn't someone who could sit back and let others take care of things. In that moment, Jason knew that he had to take control. You've been warned, Jason said, his voice steady, though his insides were shaking. You've crossed a line, and now you're going to pay the price. The man's eyes widened in shock, but he didn't speak. Jason took a deep breath, stepping forward with newfound confidence. He wasn't sure where this confidence came from, but he knew one thing. He couldn't afford to back down. The man didn't resist. He didn't have to. He understood what Jason had just learned the hard way. The price of defiance was steep in this world. Jason walked out of the room, his heart still racing, but something had changed. He had crossed a line. He had taken his first step into the world of the Mafia. And there was no turning back now. User Viet Fan 6 Theo Outline Kung 13 Fanda. Viet Tren. Viet Fan 6 Voice 702 Theo Dung Motif Ma Banda Zak Din Va Bam, Sat Tai Lu Twata Training. Kong 6 Pham Chin, Sach YouTube Nu Ko Tre 6 Ton Nien Tron Ka Chien. Kong Viet Tren Canvas. Teep Noi Fan 5. No Dong Not Nen Vat Va Boi Can. Twin Noi John Sa Cho Fu Hop. Traket Qua Bang Tiang On, Fu Hop Van Hoa Mai. Don 6 Du Luong Mai. CHY Van Fong KY Thuat Viet Tra Lai Ket Quada Voiceover Doc Lam. NOI, Dung Lean Mok Cho Video YouTube, Chu Kong Ko Them GHI, Chu Bien Tap, Nu Dao Dying. CHY Noi Dung Kong Duok Viet KY2 DAC Beat, Kong Duok Su Dung KY2 Asterisk, KY2 Ngoi Sa. Kong Duok Viet Tak Kak 2. Con So Hey KY2 DC Beat Ma Tat 5 Viet RA 2 Day, Du De Voiceover AI Doc Tot Duok. Traket Qua Trong Mot Koi Van Ban Due Not. Kong Chia Don Cho Du Van Ban Traore Di Nu The Now Di Chong Nua Kung Kong Chia, Don De Tran by Hugh Lam Va Dong Nam Dao. Dat Ton Bo Koi Van Ban Trong Down Goak Vong. Viet Bang Tiang On, Fu Hop Van Hoa Mai. Don 6 Du Luong Mai. Mbio Tun Bi Ket Qua Duok Tra Trong Mot Koi Van Ban Due Not. Kong Chia Don, Kong Them Tuda, Kong Suong Dong. Bao Ton Bo Noi Dung, Trong Down Goak Vong. Vi Du, Tioi with grave NB Noi Dung Chuin Thun, A with circumflex M, Ton Trong Mot Koi Van Ban Due Not. Kong Tra RA Code, JSON, BNet, PGSQL. Assistant. Jason had never felt more alive, or more terrified, in his entire life. The weeks that followed his initiation into Vincent Moretti's world felt like a blur of dark corners, hidden alliances, and silent threats. Every day was a lesson, but it wasn't the kind of lesson you'd get in school. These were lessons in power, in survival, in making sure that no one ever looked down on you again. Jason's first real test had been a wake-up call, the kind of thing that forces you to grow up faster than you ever thought possible. He had taken care of business, dealing with the associate who had been skimming from the organization, but now, the stakes were higher. Vincent's men had been watching him. waiting to see if he could handle the pressure, waiting to see if he had what it took to be part of the Mafia family. Jason didn't feel like he was part of a family. To him, it was just a dangerous game that he was being forced to play. A game that he could lose if he made the wrong move. But he had no choice. His mother was still in danger, and he was the only one who could protect her. As days turned into weeks, Jason found himself drawn deeper into the underworld that Vincent controlled. He was learning the ropes quickly, how to keep his head down, how to play the game, how to intimidate without hesitation. But there was a part of him that still couldn't shake the feeling that he was in over his head. One afternoon, Vincent called Jason into his office. The room was cold, the air thick with the weight of unspoken tension. Vincent's men were stationed outside, guarding the door, but it was clear that the conversation inside would be between the two of them. "Sit," Vincent said, his voice commanding but calm. Jason did as instructed, his palms sweating as he settled into the chair across from Vincent's desk. The Mafia boss didn't say anything at first. Instead, he studied Jason, his dark eyes calculating, weighing every word that had passed between them. "You've been doing well," Vincent finally said. "But now, I need to see how far you're willing to go." Jason swallowed hard, his mind racing. "What do you mean?" Vincent leaned forward, his fingers steepled together. "There's a job. One that will prove if you're ready to take the next step." Jason's heart skipped a beat. He had heard the whispers about the higher-level operations, the ones that required more than just following orders. He had heard that the Mafia didn't just control money. It controlled people, lives, and the very streets they walked on. "What kind of job?" Jason asked cautiously, trying to keep his voice steady. Vincent's lips curled into a small smile, but there was no warmth in it. "There's a man who's been making moves in my territory. A competitor. He's been stepping on my toes for months, and now he's crossing a line. He needs to be dealt with. Permanently." Jason felt a cold chill run down his spine. "You want me to kill him?" Vincent's smile widened, though it was more a flash of teeth than anything resembling amusement. "You catch on fast. But yes, that's exactly what I want you to do. I'm not asking for a show of force. I'm asking you to make it clean. No mess. No witnesses. Just gone." Jason didn't speak for a moment. His mind was racing. He had never imagined that his first real test would involve something like this, taking a life. But the reality of it was clear. There was no room for weakness in this world. Vincent Moretti wasn't asking him to do this because he thought Jason was ready. He was doing it because he needed to see if Jason had the guts to do what was necessary. "When do I do it?" Jason finally asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Vincent's gaze didn't leave him as he stood up and moved toward the window, his back to Jason. "Tonight," he said simply. "I've arranged for you to meet with the man. You'll have the opportunity. Take it, or don't. It's your choice." Jason's stomach twisted as he stood up and turned to leave the room. This wasn't a choice he wanted to make. But it wasn't about what he wanted anymore. It was about surviving. As he made his way out of the building, the weight of what he had agreed to settled heavily on his shoulders. He had no idea how he was going to go through with it. The thought of ending someone's life, of making that decision for them, it felt wrong. But the more he thought about it, the more he realized that in this world, nothing was fair. And fairness had nothing to do with power. Power came from making decisions, from controlling the outcome, from being the one who was feared. Jason didn't want to be feared. He didn't want to be like the men he had seen around Vincent, cold, ruthless, without remorse. But he knew that if he didn't do this, he wouldn't survive. He wouldn't make it. He was just a kid, but in the eyes of the Mafia, he wasn't allowed to be weak. By the time night fell, Jason was standing outside a small, dimly lit warehouse on the edge of the city. His hands were shaking, his breath shallow as he stared at the door. This was it. There was no turning back now. The man he was supposed to meet was inside, waiting for him. Jason knew what he had to do. But as he pushed open the door and stepped inside, the weight of the situation hit him harder than ever before. He was about to take a life, about to make a decision that would change him forever. But it wasn't just about him anymore. It was about surviving, about protecting the people he loved. And in this world, that meant doing whatever it took. User Viet Fan 7 Theo Outline Kung 13 Fan de Viet Tren. Viet Fan 7 Voice 702 Theo Dung Motif Ma Banda Zak Din Va Bam, Sat Tai Lu Twata Training. Kong 6 Pham Chin, Sach YouTube Nu Ko Tre 6 Ton Nien Tron Ka Chien. Kong Viet Tren Canvas. Teep Noi Fan 6. No dong not nin vat va boi can. Twin noi john sa cho fu hop. Traket qua bang tiang on, fu hop van hoa mai, don 6 du luong mai. Chy van fong ky thuet viet tra lai ket qua de voiceover doc lam. Noi, dung lean mok cho video YouTube, chu kong ko them ghi, chu bien tap, nu dao dying. Chy noi dung kong duok viet ky2 dac beat, kong duok su dung ky2 asterisk, ky2 hin goi sa. Kong duok viet tak kak 2. Con so hey ky2 dac beat ma tat 5 viet ra 2 day, du de voiceover ai doc tot duok. Traket qua trong mot koi van ban duwe not. Kong chia don cho du van ban tra di nu the now di chong nua kung kong chia, don de tran by hu lam va dong nam dao. Dat ton bo koi van ban trong down goak vong. Viet bang tiang on, fu hop van hoa mai, don 6 du luong mai. Mbo tun bi ket qua duok tra trong mot koi van ban duwe not. Kong chia don, kong them tuda, kong suong dong. Bao ton bo noi dung, trong down goak vong. Vi du, tioi with grave nb noi dung chuin thun, e with circumflex m ton trong mot koi van ban duwe not. Kong tra ra code, JSON, bnet, pgsql. Assistant. Jason stood in front of the warehouse door, his breath shallow and his palms clammy with sweat. The weight of the decision he had made pressed heavily on him, but there was no turning back now. This was the moment. This was the test that would either make him or break him in this new world he had unwillingly become a part of. As he pushed open the door, the musty smell of the warehouse hit him, and the sound of his footsteps echoed through the empty space. The low hum of the city outside was muffled by the thick walls, leaving only the cold, quiet tension of the room. He wasn't alone. Across the room, a man sat at a wooden table, his face half hidden in the shadows, but his posture straight and rigid. Jason's eyes locked onto him, and he felt the weight of the moment settle in. This was the man he was supposed to eliminate. The man who had been causing problems in Vincent's territory. The man who had crossed a line that couldn't be crossed without consequences. Jason's heart raced as he approached, every instinct telling him to turn around, to walk away, to pretend this wasn't happening. But he couldn't. He had made a choice, and now he had to face it. As he stepped closer, the man looked up. His eyes were cold, calculating, and Jason could see the fear behind them. The fear of knowing what was about to happen. "You're here to do the job, aren't you?" the man asked, his voice low and gravelly. Jason nodded, his mouth dry. "Vincent sent me," he managed to say, the words feeling foreign in his mouth. He was just a kid, barely old enough to be in this world. But here he was, standing in front of a man whose life was about to end. The man didn't speak for a moment, just studied Jason with a mixture of contempt and curiosity. Then, he stood up slowly, pushing his chair back with a screech that echoed in the stillness of the room. "You don't look like you belong here," the man said, taking a step toward Jason. "But I guess that's the way it is with people like you, huh? Thrown into something they don't understand, expected to play a role they're not ready for." Jason's heart pounded in his chest, but he didn't show it. He had to. Be strong. He had to prove that he wasn't the scared little boy who had stumbled into this world by accident. "I'm ready," Jason said, his voice steady despite the fear crawling up his spine. The man chuckled darkly, his eyes narrowing. "Ready for what, kid? You think you're going to take me down like this? You think you've got what it takes?" Jason didn't say anything. Instead, he reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out the gun Vincent had given him. It was heavier than he expected, the cold metal feeling foreign in his hand. The weight of it seemed to amplify everything. The fear, the anger, the realization that this wasn't a game anymore. The man's eyes flickered to the gun and then back to Jason. He didn't flinch. "You don't have the guts," the man sneered. Jason's hands were shaking now, but he didn't let it show. He had to do this. For himself. For his mom. The man had crossed a line, and now he was going to pay the price. Jason raised the gun, his finger trembling over the trigger. The man's smile faded as he saw the determination in Jason's eyes. "You really think you can pull that off?" the man asked, his voice mocking. But Jason didn't answer. He couldn't. He had no words. Just actions. And with that, he squeezed the trigger. The sound of the gunshot was deafening in the silence of the warehouse, and the man's body slumped to the floor. Jason stood frozen, his breath coming in short gasps as the reality of what he had just done hit him. The man's life was over, and Jason had ended it. For a moment, everything felt like it was suspended in time. The world outside the warehouse didn't exist. There was only Jason and the man lying in a pool of his own blood. Jason felt the weight of what he had done, but there was no time to process it. He had done it. He had killed someone. But this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. As Jason stood there, the door behind him opened, and Vincent stepped inside. His presence was like a storm, filling the room with an overwhelming sense of authority. He didn't say anything at first, just watched Jason, his gaze intense. "You did it," Vincent finally said, his voice low but approving. Jason nodded. Slowly, still in shock. He wasn't sure what he had expected from Vincent, but he hadn't expected approval. "You made the right choice," Vincent continued. "But this isn't just about killing someone. This is about sending a message. You're part of this world now, Jason. And in this world, there are no second chances. You either make it, or you don't. You either prove yourself, or you become a target." Jason's mind was still reeling. He had made the decision to kill the man, but he didn't know if he was ready for the consequences of it. He wasn't sure if he would ever be ready for the weight of the choices he was being asked to make. But one thing was clear, there was no going back now. He was in it. For better or worse, Jason was part of Vincent's world, and he would have to live with the consequences. User, Viet Fan 8 Theo Outline Kung 13 Fan de Viet Tren. Viet Fan 8 Voice 702 Theo Dung Motif Ma Banda Zak Din Va Bam, Sat Tai Lu Twata Training. Kong 6 Pham Chin, Sach YouTube Nu Ko Tre 6 Ton Nien Trong Ka Chien. Kong Viet Tren Canvas. Teep Noi Fan 7, No Dong Not Nan Vat Va Boi Can. Twen Noi John Sa Cho Fu Hop. Traket Qua Bang Tiang On, Fu Hop Van Hoa Mai, Don 6 Du Luong Mai, Chy Van Fong Ky Thuat Viet Tra Lai Ket Qua De Voiceover Doc Lam, Noi, Dung Lean Mok Cho Video YouTube, Chu Kong Ko Them Ghi, Chu Bien Tap, Nu Dao Dying. Chy Noi Dung Kong Duok Viet KY2 DAC Beat, Kong Duok Su Dung KY2 Asterisk, KY2 Ngoi Sa. Kong Duok Viet Tak Kak 2. Con So Hey KY2 DC Beat Matat 5 Viet R8 Day, Du De Voiceover AI Doc Tot Duok. Traket Qua Trong Mot Koi Van Ban Due Not. Kong Chia Don Cho Du Van Ban Tra Ra Di Nu The Now Di Chong Nua Kung Kong Chia, Don De Tran by Hugh Lam Va Dong Nam Dao. Dat Ton Bo Koi Van Ban Trong Down Goak Vong. Viet Bang Tiang On, Fu Hop Van Hoa Mai, Don 6 Du Luong Mai, Mbio Tun Bi Ket Qua Duok Tra Trong Mot. Koi Van Ban Due Not, Kong Chia Don, Kong Them Tuda, Kong Suong Dong. Bao Ton Bo Noi Dung, Trong Down Goak Vong. Vi Du, Tioi with grave NB Noi Dung Chuin Thun, E with circumflex M, Ton Trong Mot Koi Van Ban Due Not. Kong Tra RA Code, JSON, BNet, PGSQL. Assistant. Jason's hands trembled as he stood next to the lifeless body on the cold concrete floor. The reality of what had just happened was still sinking in. The man he had just killed was no longer just a name or a face in a crowd. He was gone. Jason had taken a life, something he never thought he would do. The gun in his hand felt heavier than it ever had before. He had never been trained for this, never asked for this. But now it was a part of him. The air in the room felt thick, the silence suffocating. He could hear his own heartbeat, racing in his chest, trying to keep up with the chaos inside his mind. Vincent stood across the room, watching him, his gaze unwavering. "You did it," Vincent said, his voice calm, almost approving, but there was no warmth in it. "You followed through. That's the first lesson in this world." Jason looked at the floor, his hands still shaking. "I didn't know if I could do it," he admitted quietly, his voice barely above a whisper. "But you did," Vincent responded. "And that's all that matters. In this world, there are no excuses. There's only action. You either act, or you become a victim. And you're not a victim." Jason didn't know how to respond. His emotions were a swirl of guilt, fear, and something else, something darker. He had killed a man, and there was no undoing it. There was no taking it back. Vincent stepped forward, his presence commanding the room. "You're learning," he said, his voice steady. "But there's more to it than this. There's more to being part of this world than just doing the dirty work. You have to think strategically. You have to see the bigger picture." Jason nodded slowly, trying to make sense of everything. He hadn't asked for any of this. He didn't want to be a part of this world, but here he was. He had already crossed the line, and there was no going back. What happens now? Jason asked, looking up at Vincent. What do I do next? Vincent's eyes narrowed slightly. You learn. You prove you can handle more than just cleaning up messes. We're not in the business of taking lives for the sake of it, Jason. Every move we make is calculated. Every action has a purpose. The next step is for you to start thinking like me. Jason felt a pit form in his stomach. He wasn't sure he could think like Vincent. Vincent was cold, ruthless, and calculating. Everything Jason hated. But he had to admit, Vincent was right. He had to start thinking bigger if he wanted to survive. What do you want me to do? Jason asked, his voice steady now, but there was still a tremor in his chest. I'm going to test you, Vincent said, turning away from him, his back to Jason now. I'm going to give you something else to handle. And I need you to make sure it's done right. No hesitation. No mistakes. Do you understand? Jason swallowed hard, his heart thudding in his chest. Yes, he said quietly. I understand. Vincent turned back, his eyes sharp. Good. Because if you don't do it right, the consequences will be far worse than anything you've experienced so far. Jason nodded, trying to steady himself. He had no idea what this new task would be, but he knew one thing for sure. He wasn't going to let himself fail. Not now. Not after everything he had already done. The next few days felt like a blur of orders and lessons, none of which Jason was fully prepared for. He had been thrust into a world of violence, deception, and constant danger. But even through the overwhelming pressure, he couldn't help but notice something strange. As much as he hated what he was becoming, as much as he hated the man Vincent was turning him into, there was a part of him that felt a strange sense of satisfaction. For the first time in his life, Jason wasn't powerless. For the first time, he wasn't the scared little boy who watched as his mother was hurt. He was someone who could take control. But control came at a price. One day, Vincent called him into his office again, the room still as cold and imposing as ever. This time, Jason didn't hesitate. He walked in and stood before Vincent's desk, waiting for the next order. I have a job for you, Vincent said, his voice low and steady. There's a shipment coming in from overseas. I need you to handle it. You'll be meeting with some people who will be difficult to manage, but you'll deal with them. Make sure it's done cleanly. Jason's pulse quickened. What do you mean by difficult? Vincent looked at him, his eyes narrowing slightly. I mean people who aren't afraid to fight back. People who think they can get away with crossing us. Your job is to remind them who's in charge. Jason nodded, his stomach sinking. He had already killed one man, but this was different. This was bigger. This wasn't just a quick job. This was about sending a message. This was about asserting control. And Jason was going to have to be ruthless. As Vincent explained the details, Jason's mind raced. He didn't want to do this. He didn't want to become like Vincent, but he knew that if he hesitated, if he showed any sign of weakness, he wouldn't survive. This was the reality of the world he had entered. There was no room for mercy, no room for hesitation, no room for weakness. Jason had to be strong, or he would be crushed. The next night, Jason was waiting in a dark alley, his nerves on edge. The shipment was arriving. He had to make sure everything went smoothly. The weight of the gun tucked into his jacket was a constant reminder of what he was capable of now. The people he was about to meet weren't going to be easy, but they would learn quickly that crossing the Mafia came with a price. As the car pulled up, Jason steeled himself for what was to come. There was no going back now. User, Viet Fan 9 Theo Outline Kung 13 Fan de Viet Tren. Viet Fan 9 Voice 702 Theo Dung Motif Ma Banda Zak Din Va Bam, Sat Tai Lu Twata Training. Kong 6 Pham Chin, Sach YouTube Nu Ko Tre 6 Ton Nien Trong Ka Chien. Kong Viet Tren Canvas. Teep Noi Fan 8. No Dong Not Nen Vat Va Boi Can. Twen Noi John Sa Cho Fu Hop. Traket Qua Bang Tiang On, Fu Hop Van Hoa Mai, Don 6 Du Luong Mai, Chy Van Fong Ky Thuat Viet Tra Lai Ket Quada. Voiceover Doc Lam Noi Dung Lien Mok Cho Video YouTube Chu Kong Ko Them Ghi, Chu Bien Tap, Nu Dao Dying. Chy Noi Dung Kong Duok Viet KY2 DAC Beat, Kong Duok Su Dung KY2 Asterisk, KY2 In Goi Sa. Kong Duok Viet Tak Kak 2. Con So Hey KY2 DC Beat Matat 5 Viet R8 2 Day, due to voiceover AI Doc Tot Duok. Traket Qua Trong MOT Koi Van Ban Duay Not. Kong chia don cho du van ban traare di nu the now di chong nua kung kong chia don de tran by hu lam va dong nam dao. Dat ton bo koi van ban trong down goak vong. Viet bang tiang on, fu hop van hoa mai, don 6 du luong mai. Mbio tun bi ket qua duok tra trong mot koi van ban due not. Kong chia don, kong them tuda, kong suong dong. Bao ton bo noi dung, trong down goak vong. Vi du, tioi with grave nb noi dung chuin thun, it with circumflexem ton trong mot koi van ban due not. Kong tra ra code, JSON, bnet, pgsql. Assistant. Jason stood in the shadows of the dark alley, his mind racing as the sound of approaching footsteps grew louder. The shipment was finally arriving, and he was ready. It had been weeks since Vincent had given him the task, and tonight was the moment when everything he had been taught, everything he had learned, would be put to the test. The weight of the gun tucked into his jacket felt heavier than ever. He wasn't the scared kid who had walked into Vincent's world a few months ago. No, he was someone different now. Someone who understood that power was a currency, and if he wanted to protect his mom, if he wanted to survive, he needed to make sure he never showed weakness. As the car pulled up, Jason's eyes narrowed. The headlights shone into the alley, illuminating the cold concrete beneath his feet. He knew the rules now: don't trust anyone, and always be ready to act. The car slowed to a stop, and the door opened. 3 men stepped out, all wearing suits that screamed money, their faces hard and emotionless. They were the ones Vincent had warned him about. People who thought they could get away with crossing the Mafia. People who had no idea what they were up against. Jason straightened up, adjusting his jacket, his fingers brushing against the cool metal of the gun. He stepped forward, his voice steady despite the nerves gnawing at him. "You're late," he said, his eyes scanning the 3 men. They didn't respond immediately, sizing him up instead. Jason felt a flicker of uncertainty in the air, but he didn't let it show. He knew what he had to do. "We don't have time for games," Jason continued, his voice growing colder. "You have the goods?" The man in the middle, tall, and with a face that looked like it had never smiled, nodded slowly. "Yeah, we have it. But what about the money? You think we're just going to hand it over like this?" Jason's heart skipped a beat. The deal wasn't just about getting the shipment. It was about securing the trust. Vincent had made it clear. If Jason didn't handle this correctly, it could spell the end. "You'll get your money," Jason replied, his tone firm. "But first, you hand over the goods. No exceptions." The tension between them was palpable. Jason could feel the weight of the moment, the fragile balance that rested on his shoulders. The man in the middle took a step forward, his eyes hardening. "You think you can intimidate us, kid? You're nothing." Jason's hand twitched toward the gun in his jacket, but he stopped himself. He couldn't show fear. He had learned that in the last few weeks. Never show fear, never back down. "I don't need to intimidate you," Jason said, his voice low. "I just need you to do what you promised. Hand over the shipment. Now." The man's eyes flickered briefly, and Jason could tell he was weighing his options. But then, with a sharp motion, he pulled out a heavy duffel bag and tossed it toward Jason. "There it is. You happy now?" The bag landed in front of Jason with a thud. He bent down and unzipped it, his fingers brushing against the contents. It was all there, everything Vincent had promised. Jason stood up, the weight of the bag in his hands. For a moment, everything felt still. But then, the man's voice broke the silence. "You really think Vincent will let you walk away with that? You think you're one of his now?" Jason's heart thudded in his chest. He knew what was coming next. He had known it the moment he walked into the alley. These men didn't just give up their goods without a fight. The tension in the air snapped, and before Jason could react, the man lunged at him, knocking the bag out of his hands. "You don't know who you're dealing with, kid," the man snarled. Jason's instincts kicked in. He didn't think. He just moved. In one fluid motion, he pulled the gun from his jacket and pointed it at the man. "Don't move," Jason commanded, his voice sharp. The other 2 men hesitated, eyeing the gun in Jason's hand. For a moment, it felt like time had stopped. But Jason wasn't about to let them get the upper hand. He had made it this far, and he wasn't going to back down now. The man in front of him glared at Jason, his jaw clenched. "You think Vincent cares about you? You're just a pawn in his game." Jason's finger tightened on the trigger. "I'm not a pawn," he said, his voice steady. "And neither are you." The man took a step forward, but before he could make another move, Jason fired a warning shot into the air. The sound of the gunshot echoed through the alley, sending the three men stumbling back. "Get on the ground," Jason barked. "Now." The men froze, fear creeping into their expressions. Jason could feel the power shift in the room. He wasn't just the scared kid anymore. He was the one in control. Slowly, the men lowered themselves to the ground, their hands raised in surrender. Jason stood tall, his heart pounding in his chest. He didn't feel the fear anymore. He didn't feel the hesitation. He had done what Vincent expected. He had proven himself. But as the men knelt before him, Jason couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. There was more to this world than he had yet to understand. And as he stood there, the weight of the bag in his hands, Jason knew that he was in deeper than he could ever imagine. User, Viet Fan 10 Theo Outline Kung 13 Fan de Viet Tren. Viet Fan 10 Voice 702 Theo Dung Motif Ma Banda Zak Din Va Bam, Sat Tai Lu Twata Training. Kong 6 Pham Chin, Sach YouTube Nu Ko. Tre 6 Ton Nien Trong Ka Chien. Kong Viet Tren Canvas. Teep Noi Fan 9. No Dong Not Nin Vat Va Boi Can. Twen Loi John Sa Cho Fu Hop. Traket Qua Bang Tiang On, Fu Hop Van Hoa Mai. Don 6 Du Luong Mai. Chy Van Fong Ky Thuat Viet Tra Lai Ket Quada Voiceover Doc Lam. Noi, Dung Lean Mok Cho Video YouTube. Chu Kong Ko Them Ghi. Chu Bien Tap, Nu Dao Dying. Chy Noi Dung Kong Duok Viet KY2 DAC Beat. Kong Duok Su Dung KY2 Asterisk. KY2 Ngoi Sa. Kong Duok Viet Tak Kak 2. Con So Hey KY2 DC Beat Matat 5 Viet R8 Day due to voiceover AI Doc Tot Duok. Traket Qua Trong Mot Koi Van Ban Due Not. Kong Chia Don Cho Du Van Ban Tra Ra Di Nu The Now Di Chong Nua Kung Kong Chia, Don De Tran by Hugh Lam Va Dong Nam Dao. Dat Ton Bo Koi Van Ban Trong Down Goak Vong. Viet Bang Tiang On, Fu Hop Van Hoa Mai. Don 6 Du Luong Mai. Mbo Tun Bi Ket Qua Duok Tra Trong Mot Koi Van Ban Due Not. Kong Chia Don, Kong Them Tuda, Kong Suong Dong. Bao Ton Bo Noi Dung, Trong Down Goak Vong. Vi Du, Tioi with grave NB Noi Dung Chuen Thun, A with circumflex M Ton Trong Mot Koi Van Ban Due Not. Kong Tra Ra Code, JSON, Bnet, PGSQL. Assistant. Jason's hands were still shaking as he walked back to the car, the weight of the duffel bag in his hands a constant reminder of the choice he had made. The sound of the gunshot still echoed in his mind, a constant thrum that wouldn't fade. He had taken control of the situation, just like Vincent had taught him. He had proven that he wasn't weak, that he could handle the pressure. But as the car doors slammed shut behind him and the engine roared to life, Jason couldn't shake the feeling that the worst was still to come. The three men he had confronted were now in the back seat of the car, silent and subdued. Vincent's men had made sure they wouldn't be a problem anymore. But Jason couldn't stop thinking about the man he had killed. He had been forced to make a decision, to take action. But what did it mean? Was this the life he was really choosing for himself? Was he willing to go this far to protect his mother and secure his place in this world? The thoughts swirled in his head, but he couldn't afford to think about it for long. He had made his decision, and now there was no turning back. As the car sped through the streets, Jason's mind drifted back to the first day he had met Vincent, to the first moment he had been thrust into this world of danger and power. He remembered how scared he had been, how uncertain. But now, the fear was different. It wasn't the fear of the unknown anymore. It was the fear of what he was becoming. He was no longer just a kid trying to survive. He was learning how to be someone who could control his own fate. But was it worth it? Was the price of power too high? Jason didn't know the answer, and that uncertainty gnawed at him like a constant ache. But he had no time to dwell on it. When they arrived at the safe house, Vincent was waiting for him. The man was always waiting, always one step ahead. "You did well," Vincent said, his voice calm and approving as Jason stepped out of the car. Jason nodded, unsure of what else to say. He was trying to process everything that had happened, but there was no room for weakness in this world. "But there's more," Vincent continued, his gaze sharp as he studied Jason. "You handled the shipment, but now it's time to learn the next lesson. You need to understand the bigger picture." Jason looked at him, his stomach tightening. "What do you mean?" Vincent's eyes never left his. "You've done the dirty work, but that's only part of the game. In this world, power isn't just about muscle. It's about strategy, control, and knowing when to make a move. You need to learn how to manipulate the people around you, how to use them to get what you want. That's the real power. Jason felt a chill run down his spine. He had always thought that power came from force, from doing whatever it took to get what you needed. But now, Vincent was telling him that power was about controlling people, about playing a long game. Jason wasn't sure if he was ready for that kind of power, but he didn't have a choice. He had made his decision, and now he had to follow through. You're not just a pawn anymore, Vincent said, his voice low and steady. You're part of the game. And if you want to keep playing, you need to start thinking like a king. Jason's mind raced. A king? He was just a kid. How could he think like someone in charge? How could he be anything but a pawn in a world full of ruthless players? But Vincent was right about one thing. He had no choice but to play. And as much as Jason hated it, he knew that the only way to survive was to play by their rules. The next few days were a blur of lessons and meetings. Jason was thrown into situations he wasn't ready for, forced to deal with people who were just as ruthless as Vincent, if not more so. It was like being in the deep end of a pool he hadn't learned to swim in yet. But Vincent was always there, watching, teaching, guiding him through the chaos. There were moments when Jason felt like he was drowning, when he wanted to scream, to run away from it all. But he couldn't. The stakes were too high. He had made his choice, and now he had to live with it. One day, Vincent called him into his office. The room was dim, lit only by the soft glow of the desk lamp. Vincent sat behind the desk, his fingers steepled together as he regarded Jason with those cold, calculating eyes. You've been doing well, Vincent said, his voice soft but filled with authority. But now, it's time for you to prove you can handle the bigger picture. You're going to be dealing with someone very important. A business associate. You need to make sure the deal goes through smoothly. Jason nodded, his heart pounding. This wasn't just about the dirty work anymore. This was about something bigger. It was about stepping into a world where every decision mattered, where every move counted. You'll meet him tomorrow, Vincent continued. And remember, you're not just representing yourself. You're representing me. You don't fail, Jason. Understand. Jason nodded again, his throat dry. I understand. As he left the office, Jason's mind raced. He had never been more terrified in his life. This wasn't just about survival anymore. This was about proving that he could take control. And as the night fell, Jason knew that he was no longer just a kid in a dangerous world. He was part of it now, and there was no going back. User, Viet Fan 11 Theo Outline Kung 13, Fan de Viet Tren. Viet Fan 11 Voice 702 Theo Dung Motif Ma Banda Zak Din Va Bam, Sat Tai Lu Twata Training. Kong 6 Pham Chin Sach YouTube Nu Ko Tre 6 Ton Nien Trong Ka Chien. Kong Viet Tren Canvas. Teep Noi Fan 10. No Dong Not Nen Vat Va Boi Can. Twin Loi John Sa Cho Fu Hop. Traket Qua Bang Tiang On. Fu Hop Van Hoa Mai. Don 6 Du Luong Mai. CHY Van Fong KY Thuat Viet Tra Lai Ket Qua De Voiceover Doc Lam. NOI, Dung Lean Mok Cho Video YouTube. Chu Kong Ko Them GHI. Chu Bien Tap, Nu Dao Dying. CHY Noi Dung Kong Duok Viet KY2 DAC Beat. Kong Duok Su Dung KY2 Asterisk. KY2 In Goi Sa. Kong Duok Viet Tak Kak 2. Kon So Hey KY2 DC Beat Ma Tat 5 Viet RA 2 Day, Du De Voiceover AI Doc Tot Duok. Traket Qua Trong MOT Koi Van Ban Due Not. Kong Chia Don Cho Du Van Ban Tra Ra Di Nu The Now Di Chong Nua Kung Kong Chia, Don De Tran by Hugh Lam Va Dong Nam Dao. Dat Ton Bo Koi Van Ban Trong Down Goak Vong. Viet Bang Tiang On, Fu Hop Van Hoa Mai. Don 6 Du Luong Mai. Mbio Tun Bi Ket Qua Duok Tra Trong Mot Koi Van Ban Due Not. Kong Chia Don, Kong Them Tuda, Kong Suong Dong. Bao Ton Bo Noi Dung, Trong Down Goak Vong. Vi Du, Tioi with grave NB Noi Dung Chuin Thun, E with circumflex M Ton Trong Mot Koi Van Ban Due Not. Kong Tra RA Code, JSON, BNet, PGSQL. Assistant. Jason stood in front of the sleek, glass building, his breath coming out in short, nervous bursts. It was early in the morning, and the city around him was already waking up. People rushed by him, oblivious to the weight on his shoulders. He had come a long way since that first meeting with Vincent. Back then, he was scared, terrified, even, but now he was different. He had to be. Today was the day Vincent had set for him to meet with one of the most powerful business associates in the Mafia. Jason didn't know much about him, only that the man was someone who could make or break his future in this world. The pressure weighed heavily on Jason's chest as he walked through the revolving door of the building. He had spent the last few days preparing himself for this moment, but now that he was here, nothing felt real. Every step felt like it was taking him further into a world he had never asked for, yet could not escape. Inside, the lobby was polished and quiet, a stark contrast to the chaos Jason had come to know in the streets. The walls were lined with abstract art, and the marble floors reflected the overhead lights, making everything look more pristine than he had ever imagined. He couldn't help but feel out of place. This wasn't his world. Not yet. As he approached the elevator, the heavy doors slid open, and a man in a sharp suit stepped out. His eyes met Jason's for a moment, and Jason recognized him immediately. It was one of Vincent's trusted men, Marco. Marco nodded and motioned for Jason to follow him. Jason fell in step behind Marco, his heart pounding in his chest. The elevator ride was silent, and Jason's nerves seemed to grow with each passing second. Finally, the doors opened, and they stepped into a luxurious office suite that seemed to stretch for miles. The view of the city skyline was breathtaking, but Jason hardly noticed. His eyes were locked on the man sitting behind the desk. He was older than Jason expected, probably in his late 40s, with salt and pepper hair and a stern face that carried the weight of years spent building an empire. His dark eyes regarded Jason with curiosity, but also with a sense of challenge, like he was trying to figure out what kind of man Jason was. "Sit," the man said, his voice commanding but calm. Jason hesitated for a moment before sitting across from him. Marco stood by the door, his arms crossed, watching the interaction. "I'm Victor Moretti," the man said, his gaze unwavering. "Vincent's associate. You've been sent here to prove yourself." Jason swallowed hard but nodded. "I'm ready." Victor leaned back in his chair, steepling his fingers together. "Are you, though?" he asked, his tone both a question and a statement. Jason didn't know how to respond. "You see, kid," Victor continued, "this isn't about doing a job for us. This is about loyalty, about respect. You're not just some kid off the street. You're a part of something bigger now. Vincent doesn't let just anyone into his inner circle." Jason could feel the weight of Victor's words, but there was no time to second-guess himself. He had already made his choice. "I know what's at stake," Jason said, trying to sound more confident than he felt. Victor smiled faintly, a look that didn't quite reach his eyes. "I don't think you do, but that's all right. You will." He stood up and walked over to the window, his back to Jason. "Let me give you a piece of advice, kid. In this world, we don't trust easily, but we do reward loyalty. The more you prove yourself, the more you'll be given. The more you take control of situations, the more power you gain." Jason's mind raced, trying to absorb what Victor was saying. It was all so much to take in. He had been part of this world for only a few weeks, but it felt like a lifetime. Victor turned to face him again, his eyes sharp. "So here's your test. There's a man. He's been causing problems for us. He's a businessman, but he's been stepping on toes, taking what doesn't belong to him. I need you to deal with him. I need you to send a message." Jason felt a lump form in his throat. He had been expecting something like this, another test. But this was different. He wasn't just doing Vincent's bidding anymore. He was being asked to make a decision that could change everything. "How do you want me to handle it?" Jason asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "I want him to know we're in control," Victor said, his voice cold and calm. "I want him to understand that he cannot cross us. You're going to make sure of that. How you do it is up to you. But it has to be clean. No mess." Jason nodded. He knew exactly what that meant. He had been trained for this moment. He just hadn't realized it would come so soon. As Victor continued to speak, Jason's mind flashed back to the moment he had taken a life, to the moment he had fired the gun and watched a man fall. It felt like a lifetime ago, and yet the weight of that choice still lingered. Now, he was being asked to do it again. But this time, it was different. This time, he wasn't just surviving. He was being asked to take control, to show Vincent, and now Victor, that he had what it took to be part of this world. And as Jason stood up, his hand trembling slightly, he knew that the next step was just as crucial as the first. There was no room for mistakes, no room for hesitation, and no turning back. User, Viet Fan 12 Theo Outline Kung 13 Fan de Viet Tren. Viet fan 12 voice 702 Theo Dung motif ma banda Zach Din Va Bam, Sat Tai Lu Twata training. Kong 6 Pham Chin, Sach YouTube Nu Ko Tre 6 Ton Nian Trong Ka Chien. Kong Viet Trend Canvas. Teep Noi Fan 11. No Dong Not Nan Vat Va Boi Can. Twin Noi John Sa Cho Fu Hop. Traket Qua Bang Tiang On. Fu Hop Van Hoa Mai. Don 6 Du Luong Mai. Chy Van Fong Ky Thuet Viet Tra Lai Ket Quada Voiceover Doc Lam. Noi, Dung Lean Mok Cho Video YouTube. Chu Kong Ko Them Ghi. Chu Bien Tap, Nu Dao Dying. Chy Noi Dung Kong Duok Viet KY2 DAC Beat. Kong Duok Su Dung KY2 Asterisk. KY2 Hingoi Sa. Kong Duok Viet Tat Kak 2. Con So Hey KY2 DC Beat Ma Tat 5 Viet RA 2 Day, Du De Voiceover AI Doc Tot Duok. Traket Qua Trong Mot Koi Van Ban Due Not. Kong Chia Don Cho Du Van Ban Tra Dai Nu The Now Di Chong Nua Kung Kong Chia, Don De Tran by Hu Lam Va Dong Nam Dao. Dat Ton Bo Koi Van Ban Trong Down Goak Vong. Viet Bang Tiang On, Fu Hop Van Hoa Mai. Don 6 Du Luong Mai. Mbio Tun Bi Ket Qua Duok Tra Trong Mot Koi Van Ban Due Not. Kong Chia Don, Kong Them Tuda, Kong Suong Dong. Bao Ton Bo. Noi Dung, Trong Down Goak Vong. Vi Du, Tioi with grave NB Noi Dung Chuin Thun, E with circumflex M, Ton Trong Mot Koi Van Ban Due Not. Kong Tra RA Code, JSON, BNet, PGSQL. Assistant. Jason stood outside the luxurious building, his heart pounding in his chest. The weight of the mission Victor had given him felt heavier than ever. He had made it this far, but now, he was about to take another step into the world of power and control. The man he was supposed to confront today wasn't just a low-level associate like the others. No, this was someone who had influence, someone who could change the game for Jason. And if he failed, the consequences would be far more severe. The air was thick with tension as Jason walked up the stairs and into the building. His mind was racing. He had done what Vincent and Victor had asked of him. He had proven himself. But now, it felt like the stakes were much higher. This wasn't just about proving that he could survive. This was about making sure that he could thrive in this world. The doors opened, and Jason stepped inside. The lobby was pristine, decorated with high-end furniture, polished marble floors, and an intimidating silence. Jason had never been in a building like this before. Everything about it screamed power, wealth, and influence. But as he moved through the lobby, his feet carrying him toward the elevator, his nerves began to settle. He had been trained for this moment. He had no time for hesitation. The elevator door slid open, and Jason stepped inside. The ride to the top floor seemed to take forever, each passing second making his heart beat faster. When the doors finally opened, Jason stepped out into a hallway lined with offices. He was led to a large, polished door at the end, where a man in a sharp suit was waiting. His face was familiar to Jason. The man was one of the associate's close colleagues, someone who had been heavily involved in the dealings that Jason was now trying to navigate. "Mr. Johnson will see you now," the man said in a clipped tone, opening the door. Jason took a deep breath before entering the office. The room was enormous, with dark wood paneling, a large desk, and a view of the city that made Jason feel like he was looking down on the entire world. Behind the desk sat a man who could only be Mr. Johnson, his sharp gaze already fixed on Jason. "You must be the one Vincent sent," Mr. Johnson said, his voice smooth but carrying an underlying edge. "I've heard a lot about you. You've made quite an impression." Jason didn't respond immediately. Instead, he stepped forward, trying to keep his nerves in check. He had faced the fear of taking someone's life, but this was different. This was about making a deal, about ensuring that he wasn't just another pawn in this game. "I'm here to talk business," Jason said, his voice steady. Mr. Johnson smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Business? Right. Vincent doesn't send just anyone for a conversation like this. So, tell me, kid, why should I trust you?" Jason's jaw clenched, but he kept his voice even. "You don't need to trust me. You need to trust that I'm here to make sure things go smoothly. Vincent doesn't deal with problems like yours half-heartedly." Mr. Johnson's smile faded slightly, and he leaned back in his chair, sizing Jason up. The silence between them felt heavy, almost suffocating. "I don't deal with threats, Jason," he said finally, his voice colder now. "I deal with opportunities. But I'm starting to wonder if you're here to make a deal or to send a message." Jason didn't flinch. He had come this far by learning how to keep his emotions in check. I'm here to do both, Jason said, his voice firm. You've been taking what doesn't belong to you. That ends now. This isn't about a power struggle. This is about making sure Vincent's interests are respected. Mr. Johnson chuckled, but there was no humor in it. And you think you're the one who's going to make me respect that? You're a kid, Jason. What makes you think you can handle a conversation like this? You think you can come in here and intimidate me? Jason's hand brushed the cool metal of the gun hidden in his jacket. He had learned long ago that in this world, you had to show that you weren't afraid to act. If you hesitated, if you showed weakness, you were finished. I don't need to intimidate you, Jason said, his voice quieter now, but with more weight. I just need you to understand that this is bigger than you. Or me. This is about the bigger picture. Vincent's picture. The room grew still, the weight of the moment pressing in on them both. Mr. Johnson's eyes narrowed, and Jason could see that the man was starting to understand the situation. You think Vincent controls everything, don't you? Mr. Johnson said, his tone almost pitying. You think you're here to clean up the mess, but let me tell you something, kid. There are bigger fish in this world than Vincent. And you're just a pawn in their game. Jason's heart pounded harder, but he didn't let it show. Maybe, he said. But Vincent has the power to make those fish swim the way he wants them to. And that's why I'm here. To make sure you remember who's really in control. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then, finally, Mr. Johnson nodded, the faintest trace of a smile on his lips. You're more like Vincent than I thought, he said quietly. But remember this, kid. You play this game, you play it for keeps. There's no turning back once you're in it. Jason didn't flinch. I know. As he left the office, the weight of what had just happened settled over him. He had made it through another test. But Jason knew that this was far from over. Every decision, every move he made, would be watched, analyzed, and tested. And if he didn't keep proving himself, he would be replaced. In this world, there were no second chances. And Jason wasn't ready to lose just yet. User, Viet Fan 13 Ket, Tuk Theo Outline Kung 13, Fan de Viet Tren. Viet Fan 13 Voice 702 Theo Dung Motif Ma Banda Zak Din Va Bam, Sat Tai Lu Twata Training. Kong 6 Pham Chin, Sach YouTube Nu Ko Tre 6 Ton Nien Tron Ka Chien. Kong Viet Tren Canvas. Teep Noi Fan 12, No Dong Not Nan Vat Va Boi Can. Twen Noi John Sa Cho Fu Hop. Traket Qua Bang Tiang On, Fu Hop Van Hoa Mai, Don 6 Du Luong Mai, Chy Van Fong Ky Thuat Viet Tra Lai Ket Qua De Voiceover Doc Lam, Noi, Dung Lin Mok Cho Video YouTube, Chu Kong Ko Them Ghi, Chu Bien Tap, Nu Dao Dying. Chy Noi Dung Kong Duok Viet KY2 DAC Beat, Kong Duok Su Dung KY2 Asterisk. KY2 Hin Goi Sa, Kong Duok Viet Tat Kak 2. Con So Hey KY2 DC Beat Ma Tat 5 Viet Ra, 2 Day, Du De Voiceover AI Doc Tot Duok. Traket Qua Trong Mot Koi Van Ban Due Not. Kong Chia Don Cho Du Van Ban Traore Di Nu The Now Di Chong Nua Kung Kong Chia, Don De Tran by Hu Lam Va Dong Nam Dao. Dat Ton Bo Koi Van Ban Trong Down Goak Vong. Viet Bang Tiang On, Fu Hop Van Hoa Mai, Don 6 Du Luong Mai. Mbio Tun Bi Ket Qua Duok Tra Trong Mot Koi Van Ban Due Not. Kong Chia Don, Kong Them Tuda, Kong Suong Dong. Bao Ton Bo Noi Dung, Trong Down Goak Vong. Vi Du, Tioi with grave Nb Noi Dung Chuin Thun, E with circumflex M, Ton Trong Mot Koi Van Ban Due Not. Kong Tra Ra Code, JSON, Bnet, PGSQL. Assistant. Jason stood at the window, staring out over the city that had become his new reality. The skyline stretched before him, a sea of lights and shadows that symbolized everything he had gained and everything he had lost. He had come a long way from the scared kid who had stumbled into Vincent Moretti's world. But now, standing here, he was a different person. There was no turning back. The past few weeks had been a whirlwind of blood, deals, and lessons. Jason had learned what it meant to survive in a world where power and fear were currency. He had taken lives, made deals, and proved himself in ways he never imagined. But through it all, one question lingered in the back of his mind. What had it all cost him? His mother was still out there, still the reason he had gotten involved in this world in the first place. But now, Jason was starting to see the price of protection. It wasn't just the violence or the lies. It was the way this world had changed him. The boy who had once believed in doing what was right had become someone else. A person who made cold, calculated decisions to survive. Vincent had seen potential in him, and Jason had worked hard to meet the expectations set before him. But now, as he looked out at the city, he wondered if he had become too much like the people he had once despised. The sound of the door opening behind him broke his thoughts. He turned to see Vincent step into the room, his presence as commanding as ever. "You've done well, Jason," Vincent said, his voice low, filled with approval. "You've proven that you can handle the responsibility. But there's more. This isn't just about taking orders. It's about building something that lasts. You're ready to lead." Jason felt a knot form in his stomach. Lead? He had been playing a game for survival, but he never imagined it would lead to this. "Lead what?" Jason asked, his voice steady despite the uncertainty swirling inside him. "This," Vincent said, gesturing toward the city beyond the window. "This empire. You've learned the skills, the strategy. Now it's time for you to take the reins, to run things the way you see fit." Jason's mind raced. He had never thought this far ahead. The thought of taking over, of wielding that kind of power, was overwhelming. He wasn't sure if he was ready for it. But he had learned that in this world, readiness didn't matter. What mattered was whether you could keep moving forward, whether you could seize the moment when it came. "I've been watching you, Jason," Vincent continued, his tone softer now. "I've seen how you handle the tough decisions, how you've grown. You're not the same kid who walked into this world. You're someone who can make the tough calls, someone who can lead with authority. And you'll have to make those calls, even when they're hard." Jason took a deep breath. It was clear that there was no turning back now. Whether he was ready or not, this was his life now. The life of power, control, and constant danger. "I'll do what needs to be done," Jason said quietly, his voice steady as he met Vincent's gaze. "I'll make sure everything stays under control." Vincent's smile was small but approving. "That's the spirit," he said. "But remember, this world doesn't just give power. You have to take it. Every step you take, every move you make, you'll be watched. There are those who will want to take you down, and you'll need to be ready to strike first." Jason nodded, his heart pounding in his chest. He wasn't sure if he was ready to fight that fight, but he knew he had no choice. This was the world he had chosen. This was the life he had accepted. "One last thing," Vincent added, his tone shifting slightly. "Your mother. She's still important to you, isn't she?" Jason's breath caught in his throat. The question had taken him by surprise, but he didn't hesitate. "Yes," he said, his voice firm. "She's everything to me." Vincent studied him for a moment before nodding. "Keep her close," he said quietly. "In this world, things happen. People get taken out. You can't afford to let your guard down, not even for a second." Jason's stomach tightened. He knew what Vincent was implying, and it sent a chill down his spine. "I'll protect her," Jason promised, his voice low. "No matter what." Vincent didn't say anything more. He just turned and walked toward the door. "Remember, Jason," he said over his shoulder, "power isn't just about control. It's about keeping what's yours. Never forget that." As the door clicked shut behind him, Jason turned back to the window. The city stretched out before him, a symbol of everything he had worked for and everything he had sacrificed. He had made it this far, but the journey was far from over. The weight of the decisions he had made and the ones he still had to make pressed heavily on his shoulders. In this world, there were no guarantees, no promises of safety. The only thing that mattered was power, and how far you were willing to go to keep it. Jason knew that now, and as the night fell, he made a silent vow to himself. He would do whatever it took to protect the people he loved, even if it meant becoming something he never thought he would be. User Viet cho toi mo ta chuan seo voi ton bo by Viet voa Viet tren, ba zut hien dung, 5 lon 2 qua chin, dark romance, trong emota. Kong ko gichi thu day la 13 fan. Van teep tuc Viet bang tiang on. Chy noi dung kong duok Viet ky2 dac beat. Kong duok su dung ky2 asterisk. Ky2 hin goi sa. Kong duok dan dao tu qua chin. Ni dung ding chuin thun, a with circumflex m ton Viet, ton 1 don kong song don vada noi dung trong cap, down goak vong. Vidu noi dung chuin thun, a with circumflex m ton. Kong tra ra code, JSON. Bnet, PGSQL, 27. Ni dung Viet ton 1 don kong suong don vada noi dung trong cap, down goak vong. Vidu noi dung tiu. Contra RA code, JSON, BNet, PGSQL. Tat Ca Viet Bang Tiang On. Assistant. In this gripping tale of dark romance, Jason's journey into a world of power, control, and brutal decisions unfolds with every step he takes. From a terrified boy trying to protect his mother to a key player in a dangerous mafia empire, Jason finds himself entangled in a world where loyalty is tested and every choice has life-altering consequences. As Jason navigates the treacherous world of crime, he must face his inner struggles and learn to wield power in a way he never thought possible. With each dark turn, he's forced to make difficult decisions that challenge his morality and push him further into the depths of darkness. In the world of dark romance, survival means embracing the violence and power dynamics that come with it. Will Jason be able to protect those he loves while maintaining control of his own fate, or will the world around him consume him entirely? The allure of power and the pull of forbidden attraction lead Jason down a path where love, betrayal, and loss await, showing just how far one is willing to go in a dark romance where survival is the only way out. As Jason's loyalty is tested and his morals challenged, the story explores the complexity of dark romance, where trust, fear, and obsession collide in the most unexpected ways. The stakes are high, and Jason must learn to trust his instincts as he faces the raw reality of this dangerous world, embracing the dark romance that unfolds before him. Will he choose love, or will he be consumed by the chaos that surrounds him? The answer lies in the choices he makes and the strength he must find within himself to navigate the perilous world of dark romance. User, Tra Loi Tung Ka Hoi Sao Day. Kim Tra Lai La Trong 13 Fan Tren Ko Fan Now Ban Chua Viet Va Chua Gue Cho Tua Kong. Kim Tra Lai Zem Trong 13 Fan Ko Fan Now Ban Gue by Trung Jong Now Kong. Kim Tra Lai Zem Tone Bo Noi Dung Qua 13 Fan Ko Tin Dong Not Va Lin Ket Mok Trian Trong Kung Mot Ka Chian. Kong. Kim Tra Lai Zem Tone Bo 13 Fan Ka Chian Noi Dung Ko Dung Fu Hop Voi Tuda Ban Dalmatwada Gue Kong. Chi Kim Tra La Si Hoke. K Chenji, Fu Hop Cho Tung Ka Hoi. Assistant. 1. Kim Tra Lai La Trong 13 Fan Tren Ko Fan Now Ban Chua Viet Va Chua Gue Cho Tua Kong. Ko. 2. Kim Tra Lai Zem Trong 13 Fan Ko Fan Now Ban Gue by Trung Jong Now Kong. Kong. 3. Kim Tra Lai Zem Tone Bo Noi Dung Qua 13 Fan Ko Tin Dong Not Va Lin Ket Mok Trian Trong Kung Mot Ka Chian Kong. Ko. 4. Kim Tra Lai Zem Tone Bo 13 Fan Ka Chian Noi Dung Ko Dung Fu Hop Voi Tuda Ban Dalmatwada Gue Kong. Ko. User, Cho Tua Outline Chi Mo Ta Bang Chu, Kong Sin Hindar Duok 5 Boi Kan Chuan by Cho Vik Tao Whisk. 5 Fan Nai Kyo Nu Gioi Thu and Han Vi Noi Dung Tuda Chu De Kich Band 13 Fan Qua Chung Tada Viet. Hey Viet, Cho Tua Outline Ve 5 Can. You ka on so 1 Lock and Chow Treo Not Ko Su Zut Hien Qua Tu Nan Vat Shin Buti Duok Noi Dung Tuda. On so 2 Den, on so 5 Moi Fan Se Ko 1 on Tuong Trung Tui Lua Chan. Ko the Ko Su Zut Hien Chung Qua, Nan Vat Shin Lon Nan Vat Fu. Lam Sa to 5 on Gep Lai Tan Shui Hin on Gioi Thu and Han Vi, Tu De Nu Gioi, Thu Bo Phim and Hong Kong Duok Lot Saiket. On Lock and Quay Nu Phim, Kong Caption, Kong Tuda. Hey Viet Outline Chi Teet, Cho Tung Nan Vat. You Ka Phi Dong Not Nan Vat Jong 80% on De Tai Len Prompt 1/5 Nu Ko Zut Hien. Mo Ta Nan Vat Phi Chuan My V Lam, Cho Nuoi My Zem. Assistant. Outline for the 5 key scenes, Whisk creation. Scene 1. The climax. The face-off between the 2 main characters. Asterisk setting. A dark, upscale office with a panoramic view of the city at night. The lighting is dramatic, with shadows cast across the characters' faces, reflecting the tension of the moment. Asterisk action. Jason, the young protagonist, stands at the edge of the office, his back to a vast cityscape, a symbol of the power he's learned to embrace. His hand is subtly resting on the weapon in his jacket, signifying his shift into the dangerous world of Mafia control. Opposite him, Vincent, the Mafia boss, is seated behind a large wooden desk. His cold eyes pierce Jason, evaluating his readiness to assume the role of power he's now forced to play. Asterisk key details. The tension is palpable. Vincent's approval of Jason is clear, but there's an unspoken expectation that Jason must now prove his loyalty and ability to lead. Their faces show subtle expressions of determination and calculation, with Jason's youthful resolve meeting Vincent's cold, calculating gaze. This face-off symbolizes Jason's transformation and the high stakes ahead. Asterisk emotional impact, power dynamics, loyalty, and the internal conflict of both characters are highlighted, with a clear indication of the weight of Jason's choices. Asterisk visual composition. The shot focuses tightly on both characters, highlighting their facial expressions as they exchange words. The city lights in the background cast a soft glow, enhancing the high-stakes atmosphere of this encounter. Scene 2. Jason's first test of loyalty. Asterisk setting. A shadowy alleyway lit only by the dim light of a single flickering street lamp. The background is dark and gritty, contrasting with the sleek, polished environment of the Mafia world Jason is stepping into. Asterisk action. Jason, still a boy at heart, confronts a man who has crossed the Mafia. The man is fearful, trying to back away, but Jason stands his ground, looking more like a man than he ever has before. Asterisk key details. Jason is dressed in a sharp suit, yet his youth still shows in his eyes. His posture is confident, with a hint of nervousness hidden under the surface. The Mafia man, older and more seasoned, visibly recoils from Jason's steely resolve. Asterisk visual composition. The camera focuses on Jason's face, capturing his internal struggle, juxtaposed with the stark, unforgiving alley. His young face betrays a conflicted soul, torn between his survival instincts and the person he used to be. The man he faces appears smaller, more vulnerable in the harsh, lonely alley. Scene 3. The deal gone wrong. Asterisk setting. A luxury car parked in a quiet, secluded area near the docks, surrounded by shadows and mist rising from the water. The car is sleek and expensive, just like the world Jason is trying to navigate. Asterisk action. Jason meets a rival businessman in an attempt to broker a deal for Vincent. The man, dressed in an expensive suit, is hostile and dismissive, seeing Jason as just a pawn. When the deal starts to fall apart, Jason's instincts take over, and he is forced to take matters into his own hands. Asterisk key details. The man in the suit looks over Jason with disdain, underestimating him because of his youth. Jason's internal transformation is on full display. He's no longer just a boy trying to protect his mother. He's someone learning the hard truths about power. Asterisk visual composition. The focus is on Jason's face as he prepares to make a decisive move. The backdrop, dark and misty, is a metaphor for the murky waters of his new reality, where danger lurks in every corner. Scene 4. A moment of reflection with his mother. Asterisk setting. A small, modest apartment, filled with the warmth of memories but overshadowed by the uncertainty of Jason's new life. The lighting is soft and intimate, contrasting with the cold, sharp scenes of his Mafia dealings. Asterisk action. Jason's mother, a strong yet worried woman in her early 40s, sits at the kitchen table, looking at her son with concern. She doesn't know the full extent of what Jason has been involved in, but she feels the distance growing between them. Jason stands by the window, his back to her, reflecting on the choices he's made. Asterisk key details. Jason's mother has the same strong jawline and dark features as him, but her face carries the weight of years spent struggling to protect him. She looks both tired and determined. Jason's body language shows the internal conflict he's facing. He wants to keep her safe, but is now part of a world that might eventually consume her too. Asterisk visual composition. The camera shifts between Jason and his mother, showing the contrast between his outward coldness and her nurturing warmth. The room is dimly lit, but the warmth of their connection still shines through. Scene 5. The moment of no return. Asterisk setting. An opulent mansion belonging to a high-ranking member of the Mafia. The grandeur of the mansion contrasts sharply with the chaos of Jason's thoughts. The golden chandeliers and marble floors signify a life of power, but the tension in the air makes the luxury seem hollow. Asterisk action. Jason is called into a meeting with Vincent, where he is told that he is officially part of the Mafia's leadership. He looks around the room, the lavishness a stark reminder of everything he's become. The scene marks the final shift from a boy caught in a dangerous world to a man who must now navigate its complexities. Asterisk key details. Jason is dressed in a tailored suit, his posture commanding yet unsure. Vincent stands beside him, a proud but cold figure, watching Jason take his place in the world they've created. The emotional impact is felt through Jason's conflicted gaze, realizing that there is no turning back. Asterisk visual composition. The scene is bathed in golden light from the chandeliers, with Jason standing at the center of the room. His expression shows a deep, internal conflict as he finally accepts his place in this unforgiving world. The contrast between his youth and the world around him emphasizes the price he's had to pay. These 5 scenes offer a glimpse into Jason's journey as he navigates the brutal world of Mafia power, family, and betrayal. Each scene highlights a key emotional moment in his transformation, while avoiding revealing the final twist in his fate. The progression from a scared boy to a young man wielding power is captured in these visual snapshots, inviting the audience to dive deeper into the dark romance that unfolds. User. OK, Viet T prompt 1 den prompt 5 chi mo ta bang chu. Kong sin hin de toi copy qua whisk nam tau duok on 1 den 5 theo outline. De mbio ka tra loi qua len nai ban gue lai toi chi mo ta bang chu. Kong sin hin. Prompt chi mo ta bang chu. Kong sin hin tau rnhvoi goknan sin chro rong cm suk, cua, nen vt the high-end. Yuka viet moi prompt theo dung format prompt la. The so Thursday, 2 prompt va noi dung trong kung 1 cap, down goak vong. Sao du noi vo dao va. Viet so qua character zut hien trong can. 6 du trong prompt 1 ko su zut hien qua, nen vat nam ma o tren min viet prompt, nen vat nam la, so 1 t trong prompta, so 1 phia salva trong cap, down goak vong, ko 2. Nen vat he 3 he 4. Viet prompt moi can toy to 3 nen vat va toy thew 1 nen vat. T du to trong cap, down goak vong cho min. 6 du, 1, 3, 4. Vi du prompt dung chuan theo u ka qua min nu sao. 1. Noi dung prompt. 1, 3, 4. Viet bin thuong kong jason, kong code, kong sui gi lao, kong pssql, kong hoi them. Tone bo viet bang tiang on. Moi prompt viet not 120 din 142. Assistant. 1. A tense face-off between the young protagonist, Jason, and the Mafia boss, Vincent Moretti, in a dark, upscale office with a panoramic view of the city skyline at night. The office is filled with shadows, creating a dramatic atmosphere as Jason stands with a firm posture, his hands slightly trembling, showing both fear and determination. Vincent, sitting behind a large polished desk, eyes cold and calculating, leans forward, studying Jason intently, assessing his every move. The lighting casts dramatic shadows on their faces, symbolizing the power struggle and internal conflict both characters face. Jason's gaze is focused, yet there is a hint of vulnerability, while Vincent's eyes are sharp, unwavering, representing the strength and control he exudes. The tension between them fills the room as Vincent challenges Jason's readiness to step into the world of power he's now part of. 1, 2. Jason, standing in a narrow, gritty alleyway lit by a flickering street lamp, faces an older Mafia associate who has betrayed Vincent. The mood is tense and cold, the harsh shadows around them accentuating the danger of the situation. Jason, in a sharp suit, stands tall but visibly nervous, the weight of a hidden weapon pressing against his side. The older Mafia associate looks at Jason with contempt and arrogance, his posture defensive. Jason's face shows determination, yet the fear of the unknown is present in his eyes. The alley represents Jason's descent into this world, a place where life and death decisions are made in the shadows. The cold concrete beneath them mirrors the internal coldness Jason feels as he faces this test. 1, 3. Inside a luxury car parked near a foggy dock, Jason faces a rival businessman. The car's sleek, dark exterior contrasts sharply with the dangerous tension inside. Jason, his hand resting on the inside of his jacket where a gun is hidden, watches. The businessman, with cold resolve. The businessman, dressed in a high-end suit, sneers at Jason, underestimating him because of his age. Jason's expression is firm, a man who's had to grow up fast in this unforgiving world. As the business deal begins to go wrong, Jason's composure is tested. The camera zooms in on Jason's face as he makes the decision to take control of the situation. The atmosphere is charged with uncertainty, but Jason's eyes betray a new sense of power. 4. A quiet, intimate scene at Jason's mother's modest apartment. The kitchen is warm with soft lighting, a contrast to the cold, dangerous world Jason has entered. Jason's mother, in her early 40s with a tired but strong face, sits at the kitchen table, worry evident in her eyes as she watches her son. Jason stands near the window, his back to her, looking out at the city, lost in thought. The camera captures the emotional distance between them, Jason's body language tense as he grapples with the new life he's been thrust into. His mother's eyes reflect both concern and unconditional love, but there's a subtle fear in them too, knowing her son is becoming someone she no longer fully recognizes. 5. A lavish Mafia mansion, filled with golden chandeliers and marble floors. Jason stands in the center of the grand foyer, dressed in a tailored suit, a visible shift in his demeanor. The cold, luxurious surroundings contrast with the turmoil inside him. Vincent stands beside him, a figure of authority, watching Jason as he begins to realize the weight of what he's become. The grandeur of the mansion, with its high ceilings and intricate details, symbolizes the power Jason is expected to command. Jason's face is conflicted, caught between the boy he was and the man he is becoming. The camera captures the uncertainty in his eyes, reflecting both awe and fear as he steps deeper into the world of power. 2.